whether we talk about Sudanese Nubia or Egyptian Nubia, that comes from, Nubia. The earliest herders, Nubia, southern Egypt, western desert, northern Sudan. The earliest agriculture, western desert, the Sahara-Sudanic agricultural package, naphtha and stuff like that. That early, the people that really believe that naphtha with their megaliths and stuff are like the beginning of some type of megalith stuff that went on to Egypt. Yeah, that's Nubia. For the people that believe that, the cow stone and all that, and ancient cattle cults and stuff, that stuff is Nubia. So they're right on that if they making that argument. If they talk about, pharaohs saying we are Egyptians and marching from Nubia into like Heracleopolis where they find the white crown and stuff before Cusco, I don't buy it. Even if it's true, they haven't found the evidence to prove it.
Well, here's a part of the issue is that you can have facts, but you can have facts that you can use facts to undergird a false narrative, right?
That part.
And a lot of what happens is that you pull up facts and it starts to undergird. Like the brother earlier, what was he pulled up that cave art, right? He pulled up a primary, but it was to undergird something that he was trying to push that I don't necessarily think that image was supporting, right? And that becomes like one of the biggest issues that I see.
Yeah, I found to get over that ideological and the ethnocentrism and all that bullshit hump, like the racialized hump, and just learn the info. I found to just talk about all the contributions from everywhere. This comes from here. This comes from Nubia. This comes from the Western Desert. This comes from the Eastern Desert. This stuff that comes from the Near East. I just talk about it all because, you don't need bias to talk about, the contributions that came in. What narrative a person wants to put behind that, then that's up to them. But, this is the data. This is what the archaeology shows. All these different aspects coming from all these different places. And then the stuff that's sort of homegrown that doesn't seem like it came from anywhere.
Right.
And with that, like,
right. And
the pissing contest person goes away. No, I'm just saying, like, I don't have a dog in a fight. I spit in the tube. I got my DNA, and none of it was Egyptian. Well, I got like 1% or something like that, a tenth of a percent or something. But I don't really have a dog in a fight. And people think they have a dog in a fight, like watching Black Panther, thinking they Wakandan. You not Wakandan. You can root for the Wakandans, but you not Wakandan. And once you realize that you not Wakandan, then it don't matter if the Wakandans get their ass kicked. And so that's how it is with Egypt. Once you realize that, that's not your people, then you can sort of, read that in a neutral light and not be so attached to it. That's what worked for me. And maybe it'll work for other people.
Yeah, I totally agree, right? Because either way, right, I've got nothing to do with the Egyptians or the Nubians. So it's exactly I'm from the Bada Benin, right? So, right. We got to start up the Bada Benin chat room again, Corey. I tell you. But you know what? In terms of like we all know about the similarities between Egypt and Nubia, right? Of course there's some similarities there, right? But for me to really understand the distinctions, one of the best things you can study is the history of the military conflicts between Egypt and Nubia, right?
Yeah.
Because then you can see, okay, well, these borders were moving back and forth for many millennia, right? Many thousands of years that border was moving, right? And then you can see it's like, okay, at one point Egypt almost completely wiped out Nubia as a people,
and vice versa.
Right. It gets crazy how bad, and just by that alone, you can say these people they may have some type of cultural similarities, but they were distinct, right? They didn't get along like that.
They were distinct. I think when you read about, we talk about the military, I was reading about the forts that Egypt put up to protect themselves from
Right.
from Nubians, right?
Right. They had
And
them way down in Nubia. Right.
they had them way down there, and then you read how large some of these forts was. It's like, oh, Nubia was on their ass for them to have like that type of protection. It wasn't no little shit. It was like big shit. And there's stories about there's this, I think the headline is like ancient Egypt history airbrush something, and it talks about how Nubia, Kush, Punt, Yam, like all these different Nubian groups go up into Egypt and was getting ready to just wipe that shit out. I don't know the details or whatever, but they went up and they just like wrecked shop, and they could have ended the civilization, but they didn't. And
Right.
it was like it was graffiti about it or a story about it and hieroglyphs, but later kingdoms came and sort of, we're gonna chip this little bit out. But they found certain records of it.
Yeah. There's
And
a
so yeah, Nubia
Nubianologist
was
that
huge.
yeah, there's a Nubianologist who got his PhD from Princeton that does a lot of work on that. I had a presentation that I did back in the day. I was always use him as a source because he was real straightforward and unbiased in terms of everything that he would kind of describe about Nubia. But yeah, he talks about exactly what you're describing. I forgot what
Is
his
is
name
he,
was.
is he the one that wrote about the I say the first we was the 25th dynasty and how they claimed the throne?
Not sure if that
I
was.
think it.
I have
I,
to
I think it may be
I have
him.
to pull it up. All of that old stuff is on my. I gave my computer that I was using to do all this research. I gave it to my wife.
Mm.
It's in her reading room, but I've got that drive shared. I have to pull it up. I gotta go back and pull up all my old documents.
There's a good paper, and it's talking about Jebel Barkal, which is a mountain in Egypt. It's like the prime, not Egypt, in in
And
um
right, yeah,
in
Jebel Barker.
Sudan.
Right,
Yeah, and he's talking about how the 25th dynasty kings claimed right to the throne through blood relationship with other earlier dynasties. So it's like I call it the first we was when they came back and conquered because they was like, no, we related by blood to earlier pharaohs who came down into Sudan and worshipped here. And they came up and whooped ass and took over for a few hundred years. Like people were so sleep on Nubia and Nubian history.
what's up, Brass? Been a
What
long
up,
time.
Brass?
Hey, Aston, are you talking about Pianki?
I'm talking about who exactly? I can't say which Nubian ruler it was. Let me see if I can find the article. One second.
Remember hearing something like that. I think it was like Contamani or some shit like that.
Yeah, I think it was.
Yeah, I remember vaguely something when you started reciting it. I was like, oh, I kind of remember hearing about something like that.
So didn't they
Because
have
they
an
cause they ruled
moon?
that shit from afar. Like they was still down to like Meroe and shit.
Hey, but didn't they have an moon sanctuary there
Cause
at
I've been
Jebel
there. I actually been to
Barkal?
Meroe.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, that was like one of the main temples of Amun, right? There at
Yeah,
Jebel Barker.
I wonder who the king was at that time.
Brother, we used to talk about Jebel Barker all the time. That was one of Sheffrin's points
Right.
that he
Remember we had that video with the guy who with the long dreads that he was on site at Jebel Park, and you and Corey was like, please do not use this guy. He's
made.
like,
What was he doing though? He wasn't climbing the walls, was he?
oh man, there was. Let's see.
He was wild.
Yeah, he was.
He was a blackologist.
Yeah. I mean, black. If you want to be a blackologist, claim what you can claim. Don't do too much. Shit, don't go extra with it. That's the problem. Is people want to go extra.
Yeah.
Like, no, you can go a little bit retard. You can't go full retard.
like you said, a little bit of black algae. With a little
A
bit.
little bit is good for your health.
Ain't never
Makes
heard
your teeth
nobody.
white.
No, they don't say that.
But too much algae will kill you. But a little bit ain't never heard
Y'all bugging right now.
It's
Y'all
like
bugging.
salt. It's like salt.
The
Yeah.
poison is in the dose, right?
No, not just a little bit of blackology.
Nah, none of it.
I mean, I give people, if it make people read, yeah, that's good. It's a lot of other people could be doing with their time.
Because of black allergy.
If they make people buy books, there's a lot of other stuff people could be buying with their money.
Books and they collect dust.
Well, maybe. There's a Japanese term for people that buy a lot of books and don't read them.
What is it called?
I don't know. I'm gonna tell you.
I'm gonna find out. Hold on.
A bullshitter.
A tsundoku.
What?
That's Mandarin for bullshitter.
A tsundoku. The Japanese term for buying books but not reading them is tsundoku. The word is a combination of the Japanese words tsundi uko to stack things up.
Yeah, Sundoku. Yeah,
Yeah,
the T is
that's me. I ain't gonna
like
lie. That's me. I got a whole bunch of books.
Sunday and Oku together.
Yeah, that's me. I got a
Was
whole
it
bunch of books, but I
I
buy
was
them
a tra-
faster than
Yeah,
I can read.
I'm a damn librarian. I got a lot of books I have not read, but I read a lot.
How
I
does that
still keep
word
buying them.
translate to English?
I'm stacking shit up and not reading.
I got so many papers I haven't read that I just saved. So, you know,
Read one a day. It adds
Oh.
up.
So where high school at? Did y'all get to the bottom of this nonsense? I'm back.
Nah, he
Come from
actually he ran out before we did it.
What's going on, Chef? What's happening?
Hey, Brendan, what's up, buddy?
What's up, Doug?
We got the Bida Benin.
Hey,
We got the Bida Benin
Right,
chat
we
up
got-
in here.
We got the bite of Benin bros in the building.
Oh man.
Oh, that conversation, man, he Saw is like, I don't know, man. Like I don't even like talking to Asar, right? Because Asar M. Khan makes up shit on the fly. He will say anything.
Yeah, how do you
Like,
fight that? That's
you
crazy.
can't fight that. He will say just about anything, yo. Like I don't know, something. He a little nutty, man. Like, seriously.
hey,
Like,
he is, but you got the problem is giving him the floor in the first place. You know he's gonna say some bullshit.
Who is this we talk about?
Asar M. Khan.
Oh, I don't even know who that is.
Good.
Yeah, he will say anything, yo. And all you got to do is a quick go. Every 3 words, just Google. I mean, because, oh man, you know, I didn't say smashing them had to stop him. And he on their side, like, yo, you got to go get a source on that, bro. That was just crazy. So, he'll say anything, man. He tried to say that what did he say? He said that the modern scholars had to use ancient Egyptian Medunetta to translate Hebrew. I said, bro, that makes no fucking sense. And he be talking 500 miles per minute, and you gotta put brakes on that nigga. I'm like, how would they? I'm like, they used Arabic to reformulate ancient Hebrew because they figured that the vowel system was similar to each other and they was closely. I'm like, but why would they go to a language that they don't know the vowel system for to reconstruct another language that they trying to guess the vowel system for. He say the nuttiest shit ever. Shit crazy.
You know what the problem is, though? The problem is people giving him the mic.
I said,
That's why, like, if you give the mic to a clown, your show is going to be a circus. And people continue to give the mic to the clown. They think that's like funny. Like somebody like that, if I had a show, you banned from even commenting in the comments. Like, go read.
Hey,
Like those
to give
people get
y'all
no play in this ride.
to give y'all some pushback though, the niggas that know everything don't talk. So
That's true.
since we talking about motherfucking how dumb Asarim Kai is, all the niggas that can give us actual information is on mute. This is still a show. I get it, but it's still a show, bro. So if he the one talking, then that's what we gotta listen to until the brilliant niggas come off mute.
That's why you need structure.
No, that's why you need participation. Fuck structure.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. That's
You gotta
true.
get some pushback, right? You got in real time, right?
Yeah, this is a show. I got to make sure that there's an audience listening. There's a full chat. Serious B was in there. If he wasn't talking, it'd be a bunch of thumbnails on mute. This ain't this is a Discord show. The audio
Yeah.
is important.
The chef, you saw he pulled a fast one on you when you started talking about the language. I think you and Mel were cornering on the language, and he flipped it. He wanted to talk about Egyptian script, right? Remember, he said, "Okay, well, let's discuss the scripting piece of it." And then you say, "What are you talking about? Script? We're talking about language." And then he says, "Well, what is a script?" Well, it's a written form of language, but it's not the language, right? A script is not the language. Right. But he wanted to pull you guys away from that because he did not want to discuss the linguistic portion that shows that the Afro-Asiatic piece. And I knew exactly where Mel was going to drag him into. He didn't want to touch that at all. Right.
I was leading him towards it when I said let's deal with the specialist who did the
Greenberg
comparison.
and those guys. Right. Exactly.
So I was going to hit him there with Loprino, Greenberg, Eric. I was going to go there. Like he didn't want to touch it. So
I did find the PhD I was talking about. I pulled up my old presentation. That was actually Bruce Trigger. So you guys were actually talking about him earlier. And he's a guy from Yale. Right. This Bruce Trigger talks about that piece as well.
And Timothy Kendall is the dude that wrote Napatan Temples, a case study from Jebel Barkel, and the mythological Nubian origin of Egyptian kingship and the formation of the Napatan state. And he goes in and basically talks about how the Nubians was like, no, we related to King Tut and them, and that's why we coming back to take the throne. And how we related? Because they came back here, 1,000 years ago or whatever, and worship here and had some babies. And that's my great granddaddy.
Well, the different groups of Nubians. How far is Jebel Barkel south? How far south is Jebel Barkel?
I think Jebel Barkel is around Khartoum.
It's right outside of Khartoum. It's like an hour from Merowe.
Yeah, there you
I've
go.
been there. We shot my boy album cover down there in Merowe. He's from Sudan, so it's right over there.
Oh, that's deep south.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
That
white
ain't
and
even
blue Nile type. Niggas nowhere near no goddamn Egypt. I literally went to where the white and the fucking blue Nile met. I didn't even know there was a fucking blue and white Nile, nigga. No
yeah, there's multiple Niles.
Yeah. And you
can
saw
go
how the colors look different.
down to almost valley to their lake. I think it's the Queens Lake or something like that.
Yeah, go all the way down to Lake Victoria or some shit.
Yeah, like Victoria, named after the Queen. So yeah.
Nothing for nothing, though. Most of the water
real,
come from
real
Ethiopia.
Nilotes down there. When you get down there, you see the real Nilotes. Tell you.
Absolutely.
They got some real Nilos in Ethiopia too. Don't be surprised.
Well, hey, can I ask y'all a question? Even if Asaranim is kind of what he said was wild, wouldn't you agree we do need some different opinions in here, at least to have discourse?
Yeah.
I don't know if it's necessarily going to be good discourse, but a lot of y'all agree on the same thing. I guess maybe I'm thinking of content right now. A lot of y'all agree on the same things, so y'all talking to each other about it. Unless y'all could find minutia y'all want to disagree on, but I think we need other.
You definitely
other
need them
people to
niggas.
put it in there. Yeah,
Yeah,
we need
you
other
definitely need
people.
them.
Yeah.
How else is you gonna clear up shit if you don't have them? You feel me?
You can just teach.
A lot of these. Okay, this is why I'm gonna call Cap Aston, and I love these guys. You know, I guess this is quote unquote our team. I don't consider any of them teachers. Like I think, like I said, teachers and professors, and unless you went to school, I've seen in this community, teachers and professors get that term get floated around real loosely. You may be able to explain some shit.
Yeah, no, I feel you. I feel you.
But I don't. But teaching, that's something. That's a different level. To me, that's just my opinion.
I mean, there's a difference between when you having someone you're just like y'all just diametrically opposed on certain things of information. Like you're just on opposite ends of the landscape when it comes to information. But you got people who approach the conversations with the sentiment like, well, I've studied this and read this and I've done this for so many hours a fucking day. How can you? It's like, bro, like that's never. You're never gonna get a good conversation out of someone whose approach is that they're almost in their head in authority. Like they're talking about they got certificates and I went to Dr. Raketti Amin school and they're like, come on, bro, like you know what I mean? Like we ain't getting nowhere with that shit, honestly. Like
I ain't gonna lie, I ain't gonna lie, said, yeah, them niggas, they take that stuff too far. Like when I asked them, I said, bro, if you got all them pictures that kind of depict these quote unquote black people, like shit, empty the clip. Oh nah, them niggas gotta do their homework and not like, come on, dude. Like you taking this conversation way more seriously than what it is. Like we up here, we having discourse, you know what I'm saying? We learning, it's a vocation really at the end of the day. This isn't changing anybody's life or none of that. So like
Nah,
relax.
see, that's the wrong thing. It
you don't
is
know the
changing their
language
life.
and all that. Like who the fuck took time to really think they know? Come on. Never mind.
This is a religion to some folks. And for certain people, like that's all they have. Right? They don't believe in this. They believe in God. They believe in Jesus. They don't believe in aliens. If an alien show up, they're gonna commit suicide. It fundamentally breaks everything that they know. And when it's like a religion to you, like Pan-Africanism, right? You can talk to somebody that has that ideology, and there's nothing that you're gonna say that's gonna make them think, you know what, yeah, maybe this is
they're
how
not
the
looking
youth
to be
no.
convinced at all.
They're not looking to be convinced. They made their mind up. They are emotionally invested. They put years into this. They put years into it. I don't know if y'all invest, but if you buy a stock and you hold it, it keep going down and down and down and down and down, it gets to a point where you don't want to sell it because you emotionally invested in it, and you'll just take the loss all the way down to the bottom until it's worthless. And that's how people are with this, it's a religion.
Yeah.
And if they don't snap out of it, like it really means something. Egyptians being black means something. Them having a connection means something. Ramses 3 popping up E1B1A, man, that shit probably made their dick hard.
The crazy thing is like I'm for having a conversation, discussing the information, but when you hide it under the guise of like, well, we need to get this because when the new black children come up and they read this stuff, it's gonna give them this and all. It's like, man, all right, hold the fuck up, bro. Like now we're not. It's like we can't even agree on what's right before we even give it to them. So we're really giving them a bunch of BS that you're trying to hide. Like you said, it's an emotional attachment to this, and it's like, bro, this shit ain't gonna alleviate none of these fucking social pressures we're dealing with today. So let's just be honest about this particular information. We don't gotta romanticize. We don't gotta do none of that. Let's just be honest about it. If we're just, we all just, this is a hobby, it's a niche topic that just a few of us are interested in. Like, let's just be honest about it. Making, creating names and and clans and calling yourself a archer and all. Like, come on, man, that shit's going too far.
Wait.
It's tough for me to have a real conversation with someone like that at that point.
Let me tell you one point why I object. Right, kids. I think you can lie to kids. You can lie to kids if it make their life better, if it make them feel good inside. You know what I'm saying? You can tell them about the tooth fairy and Santa Claus and all that stuff that don't exist. You can be an atheist, but you can tell your kid about God and your grandma, she in heaven. You can lie to kids to make them feel good, and there's benefits to that. But adults, that's different. It gets to a point where you grow up and you discard childish things. And that's where, okay, now it's time. Oh yeah, that stuff, that stuff was fake. But you told me, yeah,
So
Santa Claus don't
Aston,
When you
exist.
hold
That
on
was
to
me
it, yeah,
justifying
I
all
feel
that
you
shit.
on that.
so Aston, you have two contingents of people who disagree with the assertion that the ancient Egyptians were black, right? And one contingent, they basically say they don't subscribe to the idea of race. And they're a population that range from dark to light. There's no such thing as black, blah blah blah. And then you have another contingent who says, yes, I do ascribe to the or do subscribe to the notion of race, classification. And it's that
You in a bad
that
service
phenotypical
area,
context,
Broken
the
up.
Egyptian.
You in a bad service area.
Oh shit!
What's up, Haskell?
Y'all can hear me?
Yeah, it's
What's
better
up,
now.
man?
Yeah.
How you doing?
Good, man.
Yeah, so I was asking Aston, so you have two contingents of people who say that the Egyptians were not black. The first contingent says it on the basis that there is such thing as black, right? They don't subscribe to the idea of race at all. It's anachronistic, all the rest of it, right? Then you have the second contingent that says, I do subscribe to the notion of phenotypical classification of human beings. And based on that phenotypical classification of what we call race, the predominance of that population would not fit in category that we call black. Which of the contingents would you say that you fall into?
Neither one, because then again, I don't think it really matters. For me is I could make the argument. I don't have to believe in them being black to make the argument they were black. I don't have to believe in them not being black to make that argument. Right? And so the issue I have with the first people is saying they don't believe in black is they probably lying. They probably lying, or they could clarify and say, I don't believe in black as it comes to genetics. So that's me. I'll
Right.
call people
Yeah.
black all the time. I'll call myself black. I'll call those people black. I argue that there is no genetic race of
Yeah.
people called black, because
I'm with
people
you on
that
that.
we call black, right, they got genes across the entire spectrum of humanity, especially when you get to digging up bones that kind of look like black, and they from freaking East Asia way the hell over there. So that breaks the genetic race model.
Technically the
Can I
Hold on,
say that question?
real quick.
Hold on, let him finish.
Real quick, Stoopies.
Yeah.
So Aston, so it seems like you more so.
As to
Go
finish,
ahead,
he
go
was
ahead,
wrapping
my
up. Go ahead.
The second part, and this is what I took up with Chick X. If we're gonna use the term black, whether you want to say you believe in it or not, and you say those people over there are black, and that's what I mean by black, then I'm gonna say, okay, I'm gonna take your metric and be like, okay, ancient Egyptians are black because those people are black and they look like those people. So I want to force people to stop using the term black in the first place and just use science. We can talk about the science of dark skin. We can talk about why people why. I'm not in the first
contingent.
I'm not in the first contingent. I'm not in the first contingent because I call people black all the time. I just say black is not scientific. I say black is a social construct, and black is a social construct that includes people that look white. Because black people, black people can pass
I'm
for
with him
white.
on that too. Yeah, because look, everybody. When we look at the metric of in America, right, we consider somebody like I ain't gonna say all Americans. There'll probably be contention on this, but a vast majority of them will. They'll say they will look at a person like Mariah Carey, and we used it before, and call this woman black. So if they classify her as black, then the Egyptians have to be black. They
That
have
part.
to be.
And
They have
then
to
you
be.
had white
And
people.
there's so many other people across the globe would have to also
Mariah's an
fall
outlier.
into that.
Mariah's an outlier.
No, she's
So
not.
let me ask
No, she's
them
not.
these.
But
Let me
Just saying that's how far this shit stretches.
pause though.
The blackness
Because
people
stretches
will
it's a
that
social
far.
construct.
Some people will go
Because
that far. But
it's a social
but
construct.
Ashton, yeah, for a fact. So I want to ask you straight up, Ashton, being that you
Mhm.
admitted that people who claim that it's a social construct and there ain't no such thing, they lying.
Yep.
So that says to me that you do have a conception in your mind of what constitutes a black person. Based on that, with the ancient Egyptians, the predominance of the population in ancient times fall in that category.
But are people black
Predominance, I
solely
don't
on the
know.
basis of
I
skin color?
could prove some of them
That's
absolutely.
it right there, Brandon. We got to get to that.
All I gotta do, we're gonna dig up their skeleton, measure it up, find another place in Africa that got something identical, and I'm gonna ask you, these other people, are they black? And if you say yes, okay, well then, case in point. What is that called? Inductive reasoning? Deductive or inductive? One of them is you start with the concept.
You're reducing it. You're reducing down to what you consider. So things would get
Yeah,
knocked off.
one of them, you start with the idea so and so is black, and then you show the evidence. The other one is you show the evidence and conclude that they're black. So when people put the metric out there, and I take issue with the inconsistency, and I saw it in here. People was talking about dark skinned people in Morocco that was black, but modern Egyptians ain't black, even though they look exactly like that same person. It's either neither one of them is black or both of them is black. You can't be, a person that's in Ethiopia look a specific way, and an identical person in ancient Egypt look like that, and no, that person is not black because they up there, and this person is black because they're down there. Nah, it's either all or none.
All right, can I ask you a question now, please? Were ancient Egyptian, and I'm going to use a word from Umar, were they habitual bunny hoppers based on the depiction?
Who knows?
No, I'm asking you because
is that something that
the
we
reason
can
I'm
prove?
asking you, no, because the depiction, the kings always appear with light-skinned women in all of the statuettes, and in all of the pictures, because you're sure that you like to use pictures. No, it wasn't you who used the pictures
No, that wasn't him. Yeah, that wasn't him.
In the caves. It wasn't you.
Yeah,
but
no, it wasn't
I think that's like a weird question.
Let me finish.
That was a SAR Stoopies. That wasn't him.
Yeah. The reason why I asked the question is because we have come to the realization with modern human beings that it don't take many generations to lose your blackness, especially if you're a habitual bunny hopper. Within 3 or 4 generations, you lose that blackness. And all the depiction, all of these men tend to favor light-skinned women. We see it in many depictions. So you asking, no, I have no problem in agreeing that the original probably came from the geographical south. But when they got north, this is always my argument, when they went north, they fell in love with white-skinned women. And they became bunny
Here's the
hoppers,
question,
all
though.
of the depiction.
How can you answer that with science? How do you answer that question with science?
With science? That if
yes,
that reproduction can change the genetics majority.
But how do you answer? I mean, what information would I need? What scientific information would I need to answer your question?
If whether or not if they habit from the genetics, what percentage is XYZ more with the north, and what percentage is more with the south?
From a genetic perspective, you could display that from showing like more of an influx of mtDNA from the Near East,
the Y chromosomes,
being more than the flow of Y DNA from that region. So you could kind of you get what he's getting at.
So what did Abu Sir data tell us? They had 93 mitochondrial lineages, and how many of them were local to
but those
Africa,
weren't
and how many
those weren't native.
They were actually They were
Those weren't
Wait,
classified
wait,
natives.
as European.
wait, pause. This is where you're gonna get yourself in trouble. Because if you
Mhm.
argue those were not natives, what happens when they find older samples that are similar to that? Then you're gonna be really fucked.
Uruguay.
And
But
then
have,
Not
okay, then you're
really.
gonna
But
say, oh,
have
wait,
they
wait,
found them?
we gotta go back to
Have they found them?
pre-dynastic.
Not necessarily, because even the New Rock man is black, and I'm just gonna say
Mhm.
that straight up, and that's a
I
much
mean,
older
yeah,
sample.
they say that
But
in
but
there.
right, but what
So
they
then
do
you
is
can't
what they'll do.
just use
Hold on,
mitochondrial
Aston.
lineages, can you?
Hold on. No, I was just trying to fortify Brother Stupiz's,
Mhm,
argument as to how you could display that in a genetic way, right? But
mhm,
but this is what I'm saying. If they find all the samples that are quote unquote in the same sort of genetic makeup as, say, the Abusir mummies, right?
mhm.
Or it's not, right? Let's say all they're gonna do is just slice the genetic cheese a certain way, like they did with the Neurat sample, by
Man,
manipulating
you
the
keep saying that,
QP80M,
bro. They didn't do that
closing the
though, bro.
closing the feature space on the comparative samples that you're using, completely exclude ancient African samples from the QPA ADM admix.
No, they didn't.
Just
It didn't fit the model. They tried to use the motor man. You keep saying that though,
hold
bro. You
on.
misrepresented though, ass.
Yeah. But said I already know where you coming from on that, and you know
Yeah, I
where I'm
know.
coming
We've been
from.
over this. Yeah, for
So,
sure.
yeah, we ain't gonna never agree on that. You feel me? So
All right, go
with
ahead, my
that
bad.
said, this is what I would like to see from Egyptology. If they're being honest from a genetic standpoint, don't give me these nondescript ass people. Stop digging up random motherfuckers with no name. We don't know who they related to. None of that shit. You got plenty of ancient DNA from the old and middle kingdom, right? You got PCR, you got all kind of novel techniques. You can extract DNA from actual identifiable monarchs, priests, scribes, various people that have names, that have lineages. You know who they're related to,
Yep.
right? So get the DNA from them motherfuckers. Don't go get no They listen. They don't want none of that the monarchy smoke. Aston B, when it comes to that genetics,
Maybe.
they don't
Well, I
want it.
mean, they got a Marna, right? How'd that come out?
By somebody being clever and taking SDR data. It was not meant to be uh, uh, um, the purpose of what Zahi Owas and them people did was not for that. Somebody had to be clever and take that SDR data and run it through a database. I'm saying
I'm talking about the mitochondrial DNA.
of the Amarna,
Yeah, like
which
King
Amarna?
Tutton. He was K1.
Oh,
K1, yeah.
okay.
Yep.
In regards to that, me and you both know that doesn't mean nothing in regards to the racial discussion, because we know
I know
that
it don't.
I know that's why
right.
he's
DNA.
saying that it's science. It's not. You can't make a case of
No, no,
blackness or none of that from that.
no. But what
That's
I'm
my
saying
point.
is, right? No, for a fact. But what I'm saying is, you could use the autosomal information from those monarchs and identifiable mummies that we know who they are, etc. It can absolutely fortify the racial argument. I agree.
Maybe.
All right, genetics is not race, right? Just like the Andamanese, technically, according to science, they're closer to Asians than Africans, right? But by
Right.
racial standards, they're unquestionably black people. You see what I'm saying? So
I see what you're
yeah,
saying.
get the
But that makes
DNA
Yeah, but
black
from.
meaningless.
nobody would disagree with that though.
But a lot of people would disagree because that
I mean,
makes
not
black
on a racial
meaningless.
social standpoint. Like, I mean, yeah, it would make it obsolete. But at the same time, it helps their argument though because it's purely based on skin tone. But then that even gets trickier when you start breaking down their argument even more, and then you end
Yeah,
up at
and
Mariah Carey being black. Is what I'm saying.
No. It's not just skin tone though. It's physical features, morphology, nose, lips, hair.
Yeah.
It's all. Yeah.
And that's why y'all would
I
consider
guess.
someone who's not on the dark skin side of the spectrum would still classify them as black just based on some phenotypical features to a degree.
I don't know. I'll tell you this: a lot of the samples you're looking for, it's already been done. Anybody in front of a computer, you can Google this. Dr. Scott Woodward. Last name Woodward. Google Scott Woodward Egyptian DNA, and you will see what's been dug up and sequenced a long time ago. A lot of stuff won't get published. There's a lot of stuff that's been published that people just haven't read. Some of the questions that people asking, I don't think they can be answered because like the wrong question is being asked, and unless you flip it and do like a analysis based on science, the whole shit just get like messy. Again, I'm Black American, and in my history, if I open up my photo album and all the cousins, you got people that can pass for white, but they Black
Sure.
because the way
Yeah.
we use Black includes white people. You got a woman, Rachel Dolezal. She passed as Black
Nobody
because
consider her.
because
Come on.
No, she passed until
bullshit.
they realized what
She
it was.
passed.
She was passing
She
for them.
passed
Yeah.
because if a person that looks like her says I'm Black, we take that to mean okay,
Yeah.
regardless
With
of
the
how you look,
cornrows, all that
yeah,
shit. Yeah.
you
Yeah,
have a person of African slave descent in your background. And you
They let
chose
her
to
run a
identify as
chapter
that.
of the NAACP. You don't think they looked at her and was
Exactly.
like, come on, like, did she fool
Yeah,
people? Yeah.
but she did. But what did she do? Said she wore a wig that had like type
But the
3 to
he's
4.
saying the features allowed her to pass
Right.
to a
Mm,
degree.
No, but yeah, I agree with him. Right? You have those people. There are like your Adam Clayton Powell's, for example. Right? I would
or the
put him
people
in a
that ran
category.
away from slavery
Yeah,
and
yeah.
joined white
I would
societies.
put him. I would put him in a category of ambiguous. Right? Racially ambiguous. Right? But when you look at the population that is referred to as African American, when looked at as a unit, the unit is unquestionably black, even with those outliers that Aston B is referring to.
Yeah, yes, it is.
And
You're
that's my
right.
argument, right? And that's my argument regarding ancient Egypt. I don't disagree for at no instance that you're gonna find the instances where you're gonna have people who are nebulous racially. I'm saying when taken as a unit, they are unquestionably black. Now, in regards to the DNA asking, you mentioned Woodward or whatever the guy name is, right?
Yeah.
That's obscure. This is my position, Aston. If Middle Kingdom, Old Kingdom, New Kingdom mummies, like let's say the Amana mummies, for example, right? Being that
Yeah.
they get out the SCRs. If they did autosomal analysis on that entire dynasty and it showed 90% affinity with the Levant, they're not holding that information, Aston. They are trumpeting that off the mountaintops. You feel me? So
Hey,
So
right.
why wouldn't they do that in the Neurowad then? Why would they feel the need to include, even though it's literally one sentence about the man's skin tone? Like why would they feel the need to include that if they're pushing this agenda that so to say that you're speaking of? Like
Yeah, but you
why would they
gotta
feel the
go,
need to include
but
that?
you gotta go said you gotta go all into the supplementary information and
I mean, you got to do
dig
that
up.
with any study
No,
to
no, no.
get with.
Yeah,
Go
but this is
ahead.
what I'm saying though. With Neurot, the thing that they put out there, like on the front line, on the front page, is that he got most of his affinity is to the Near East, even though they put
I didn't
the
say that
80%.
neither though. But go ahead.
Yeah, even with the 80% North African, they still tie that back to the Near East. That's the thing that they push out to the front. You feel me? The
pause
high
though.
respect.
Do you understand? Do you
Yeah,
understand
I
how they
don't.
tie that back?
Say again.
Do you understand how that 80% is tied back to the Near East?
Yes, I get how they argue. They're saying that it was a series of bat migrations that basically
No,
make up
the
I mean, you got
what
people
they
that broke
call
off and
yeah.
stayed too. That's why if you look at the
So
yeah,
new Green Sahara study,
and,
like if you look at those people
and
that broke off, like they stayed there, and they still picked up a lot of the sedentary culture that came from the Near East, even though they had a small percentage. But if you go right up the street to those Tofferot mugs, right up the road, they got a high percentage of it, and they're older, so you can see the
right.
back migrations, like right there, you can see it.
with Takakori, they make a little bit of different distinction with them than Neurot. So with
Yeah, for
Takakori,
sure.
with Takakori, they basically say this is an ancestral North African continuum that is neither related to the Near East or so-called sub-Saharan. With the Neurot, they connected it with the Near East. They didn't do that in the same way with Takakori.
Let me say something about
You know what I'm saying?
Neurot. They connected it to the Near East based on a previous sample. So there's a previous study that has data from Morocco. And one of the samples called Scarat something or SKH, that sample is like, okay, this looks like 30% Tafaralt and 70% Neolithic Levantine, right? Boom. So they got that. Now, when they ran this Egyptian looks like 80% of that Moroccan. But remember, that's 80% of something that's a 70-30 split. So that's
Right.
how they saying is, 80% North African and the rest being like Mesopotamia or some bullshit.
Right. And I
There's
disagree.
issues
I
with that,
disagree
but
with that. I disagree with that. I'm more so ascribed to the model that people like Rick Kittles has spoke on. The things that they're terming as back migrations is really just deep ancestral lineages that has been in North Africa. Like they
all of it or some of it.
over-exaggerate. They
Yeah, I must say all
over-exaggerate
or some.
So all
the
or some.
I would say the prohibitive majority of it. I
Wow.
So
believe,
you would
in my
say that sample
opinion,
is
they grossly over-exaggerate that back migrations.
I wouldn't think they
But it's
over
not over
exaggerating.
exaggerated when it's
I think the
representative
model
in the genetic
is
data.
giving them that.
Yeah.
So you think the sample is how much Native African? What's the number? We're talking about Neurat.
It was like 79 or something like that.
No, but you think it's 79%. Now, when you talk about the back migration, if you think the numbers are skewed, what would you
No,
think?
I don't think that. I was answering for Haskell. I don't know where he dropped off, but if I remember, they said in the neuro I was like 78, 79, and like 22% from what was it, Levantine, Neolithic Levantine.
Chalcolithic, Levant, this, that. They're saying like that's basically an amalgamation of a series of back migrations from the Levant.
Right. So I'm
Based
saying
on
if
the
you don't
model,
think it's all back migration, what part of it or what percent would you think is local?
I mean, if I'm throwing out a number, it's really just going to be arbitrary, right?
Nah, no, it
Because
ain't. It's gonna be your opinion. Ain't
I'm
nothing
not,
wrong with your opinion.
I'm not a
I'll
geneticist.
throw out a number.
Yeah,
I believe
go
the
ahead,
same thing.
throw a number out.
Some of that, I would say, possibly 40 to 60% could be local of that sample.
But even with that, that's not an issue though. That still doesn't determine what they were trying to discuss in that study. Like they were trying to figure out the Neolithic package coming in and the whole sedentary culture coming in and when they stopped being as nomadic as they were. It has nothing to do with, what Haskell and them I think are trying to make it
The
out to
race
be.
thing.
Yeah, I don't think it has nothing to do with that. That whole study
No,
was based on farming.
yeah, but a lot of people say the numbers are wrong. And when people say the numbers are wrong, I'm just, what do you think is right? And why?
I disagree. See, that's the beauty of what they do, though, said, because they always have that plausible deniability, right? They could say, we're not doing a race study. Like, for example, the Abusir El Malek, that was a race study. I don't care what
Yeah, that was a race
anybody
study.
says. Right. Now,
Yeah, I mean,
they,
I understand what you're saying on that one for sure.
right. Now, do they present it as that? No. They're not
I
going to
mean, you
do
can't
that.
scientifically write that up that way, but you can
Right.
use language that can allude to that for sure. I'm not disagreeing with that at all.
Right. And that's how I feel about Neurot. In the Hyrasplex, right, which is what, like, based on genetic information, they kind of glean what the most likely skin tone that the person would have had, the most likely hair type that they would have had. They put that in the supplemental information, and they said he would have been dark,
Dark to black.
dark brown to black, which is the highest level on the Hyrasplex that you can reach.
And
So when
you don't
read
find you
that,
don't see that as honesty though. You don't find that in some form of way, like
not
we're,
when it's not
even
when
though the
it's
study's
true.
not about that, but we're gonna we'll introduce that because based on what we're looking at, he would range in this range right there, not
I think it
intermediate,
is. I
but
think it
in the
is
higher.
said. Yeah, I think it is said because you know what? This is it's tricky because even if you're a scientist and you want to be kind of go all the way and say this guy was black or whatever, there are political considerations, right? You can't be calling them people black. You're not going to be let back into Egypt and do work and all of that shit. Zahir
That's
Was
true.
and his descendants, they not having it, bro. They don't want to hear nothing about no black. None. They, Zahir Was don't even want to hear that African shit. He'll tell you that the ancient Egyptians was not. He said that
No,
verbatim. They're not
they're black, but
African.
they're Negro.
Right. You feel what I'm saying? So as a scientist, I feel what you're saying said. Yeah, I give him some points, bro. I give him some points because but to me, that's just buried in the footnotes. To me, what's on the front page, most people gonna read it and they're gonna take it that, oh, he's the same as them Levant niggas, and you're gonna automatically associate that with a Kim Kardashian looking person. That's what most people are gonna do. And the people who craft those papers, they know that. In my opinion, they
I don't think
know
they
that.
care, man. I don't think they
Yeah, I
care.
don't think they care to that degree. I think they're just trying to figure out some of the pieces of, because it's like they see it. They see the backbone of the Egyptian economy came with the introduction of this heavy sedentary culture. So they're like, which direction did it flow? Maybe the genetics to help tell that story. I don't think it's trying to particularly prove something. I think they're just trying to get clear understanding of how these different migratory patterns may have went, how it may have worked. I don't know, man. I don't see this agenda that y'all see to a degree, but
Oh,
maybe
there's an
I'm
agenda, no
flawed.
doubt. There's an agenda. If you read enough studies, there's an
Yeah.
agenda, and you got to know
I'm
when
not
you're getting
saying there ain't.
played.
I'm saying like I don't see it
They
when
playing us left and
I
right.
look at it from my lens. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they played us with Takakari.
Yeah, I'm sure they do.
Well, who you say, Asa? They what?
They played us with the Libyan
Like the
mummy.
Horus.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Because I still haven't seen
And I
any
don't remember them
genetics
talking
on that.
about the skin tone of like PKH, SKH. I mean, what was it called in Tucker Horror? Ain't they abbreviation PKH? I think. Or something like
TKH.
that. I don't
Yeah,
remember them doing
Tackle.
that. Like I know they got a whole. I think it's like they got like a
They
million something
played us.
STPs or something.
They played
STPs
us
or
with the
something.
model, right? They played us with the model. They played us by not going a little bit deeper into the archaeology to see which population that group is related to, because that sample has larger implications on Africa.
Yeah, it does.
Right?
Yeah.
If
Well, I know out of
if
the
you're
three,
familiar
they
with
only
the
really got a
sample,
good portion of one. I thought, right? Like out of the three, it was
yeah,
like
but
three of them. I think.
sometimes one is enough.
Yeah, it was. And
They
that
got one
one, like I
old
said, they got
Kenyan
a million
sample, and
slips off that one or some shit like that. I
yeah,
think they learning like with the new method with some of these mummies, they finding like some tissue they can get like a lot of a good sequence out of, thing like behind the earlobe or something like that or some
yeah,
shit like, if I'm not
yeah.
mistaken. But
The Petrus
The
bone.
yeah,
Petrus bone.
But
yeah.
but but
I met the woman that pioneered that, by the way.
oh yeah.
Yeah, at a genetics
I was saying like
conference.
with that, like like I think with a lot of those, they'll be able to go back and maybe get a larger database now, because they can use these new methods on a lot of those old mummies and
But
shit.
that
So
stuff take time. Like when I
do
say
though, they do.
I met that woman in, it could have been 2011, and she was hinting at the data that was just published from not Zanzibar, but was it Zanzibar? Swahili Coast and Kilwa and stuff like that. The data that just came out like last year. What's that? Like
Mozambique?
12,
No,
13
Mozambique.
years?
Yeah, I'm not familiar, but
14.
Yeah, the ancient DNA from Swahili Coast. It was like medieval stuff, but it was like a significant number of samples, like 20. That stuff was just published last year. Like the data when they do the work and would actually get published is so long that stuff just like disappears. There's abstracts of oh, we got DNA from Mesolithic, Neolithic Nubians and this and that, and this is blah blah blah. Man, that shit disappeared, never published. So don't hold your breath.
What did you about the Libyan mummy? Why do you feel they were being kind of cagey about that? Why
because
did you come to that?
they made it seem like it had no affinity to sub-Saharan Africans, and they made it seem like um, even this quote migration between sub-Saharan Africa and North Africa was limited. They say that, but that's like saying, gene exchange between white Americans and African Americans was limited because of slavery. Well, no, it just went one way because of slavery, right? And so if you have people in sub-Saharan Africa that are partially North African, like the Fulani, who was pretty close to these people, and the Chadic people, and who else in these people in Libya, the Tibu and stuff.
Tubu,
How
yeah, the
you saying,
Tubu.
yeah, how you saying
Yeah.
gene flow is limited when these people are 30 and 40% North African? Yeah, because if you only think in gene
I thought it
flow
was just
one
that
way,
particular group that they said broke off. Like like maybe it might have been a part of one of those
true.
out of Africa
But
migrations, or like that group broke off and they kind of stayed put while everybody else kept going like different
yeah,
directions.
but they said the gene flow was limited. They say
That's
like
what I
these
said in
people were
just in
isolated.
that particular group though, because like I said, they said that the Tafarot were not far away, and they had a high Near East percentage. So it's like but and they still picked up
Let me find a quote.
some of the
I'll explain what
cultures.
I mean. Hold
They
on.
still picked up some of those domesticated animals and shit like that from those, but they
Yeah,
never actually like bred with them.
they
They kind of
continually
stayed to
push the
themselves.
idea that the
So
so-called
they almost
sub-Saharan
say like
was
these people would be what we would call 100% goddamn African. Even though they say like it was like a 6-8% of some Near East shit. So I mean, like,
Basically,
here's the other
they
thing
excluded
too.
sub-Saharan shit, and I mean, I
In
feel
the
what y'all saying when y'all say it like that. I really do. I agree for sure. Now that I'm
yeah,
like
and the other
rehashing over
thing
some of the shit
too
I read.
with the sub-Saharan terminology when they use it, the Thousand Genomes Project, typically when they're comparing the samples, they're always using that same Yoruba sample to represent sub-Saharan Africa.
yeah.
So a lot of the time when you read these papers and it says no sub-Saharan DNA, what it really should say is no Yoruba DNA from this period. To me,
That's
that's
when you get
disingenuous. That's
there are
extremely
times.
disingenuous.
Hold on, it gets worse. There are times you're reading a study and it'll say, these people have 2% E1B1A and 40% E1B1B, so they only have 2% Y chromosomes from Africa. So
Yeah,
like
that's
you
crazy.
have to read it and you got to know. Like they really be playing us. They really be the Yoruba shit, or
Yeah, I
they'll
kind of got that
run the
from
DNA.
that neurorock study. Like, I think it's
Yeah.
I think since April or sometime this year, I think Nature requires them to publish the peer review alongside the actual
Yeah,
study.
thankfully.
Yeah, so like so I instantly went to the peer review on that neurorock study. Boy, they was flaming their ass. They was
They
like
were flaming them.
figures were
Yep.
missing. I kind of kept it to myself, but I was like, man, they were like
Did
No,
you
figures were
that's
see
normal
missing.
though.
They were
said,
That's
did you see
normal.
the
yeah.
part? Did you see the part
But
where in the
they were like
first
the language
model?
was disingenuous. They was like full genome, like even
Mm-hmm.
the way they were wording it, like was like a little wild. Like
Did you see the part where they rebuked them for in the first model they tried to put the sample pretty much exclusively in the Levant. Like they said it's a
They
Neolithic
tried.
Levant.
yeah,
Right, they
yeah,
tried. And they told them,
yeah,
hey, that's not no.
yeah,
And they went back to the drawing board and
yeah.
that's when
That's why he said that a lot of them had contention with just the language they were using. Period. So that's what most of the peer reviewers were
nah, that
using.
wasn't a language thing said. They were trying to put that neurite in the near east, like pretty much
Yeah.
exclusively.
Yeah, no,
Right?
I know there was a part in the study that actually tripped me out. They were saying like this is like basically saying like this person has so much Near Eastern shit. Like even though it was at the 20%, but it's like that's enough for them to look at this as almost like a gateway into like all the Neolithic shit from the Levant and Mesopotamia. I'm like, nah, hell nah, y'all tripping when they say wild shit like that. Like there's no way you can look at this one person here and then get a whole idea about what those people
You
over there were
see
also doing. Like that's wild to say.
you see a recurring pattern. And the recurring pattern is trying to put Egypt in the Near East. It just never fails. They keep trying to do it, and they're not gonna stop. You know, if
I'll
the
I
say
mean, it's
this.
an attempt on both angles, I think. I mean, you see people trying to pull these motherfuckers as far south as possible too. So I mean, it is what it is.
I'll say this, right? The data is less of a problem than the interpretation, right?
Yes.
If we talk about science and we talk about out of Africa, it's likely when you look at these PCAs, you're gonna see a climb from South African hunter-gatherers into pygmies and West Africans, and then East African hunter-gatherers, and then Horners up a smooth climb of populations into the Levant. That's what we would expect, right? People gonna get closer and closer, and of course, Egyptians and Levantines are right close to each other. So a natural climb of human diversity from sub-Saharan Africa into the Levant, you would expect a native Egyptian population to be close to a native Levantine population just based on geography. So
see, and that's
what you make
from
of that
from a
though.
no, from an a priori perspective, sure, but that in and of
Now,
itself. Go ahead.
yeah, what when you look at the data and it shows that, how you choose to interpret that is the key, because
Right.
they don't, sometimes they say it, but autosomal data does not indicate direction, and affinity does not indicate ancestry. I always say maybe they were
Mhm.
closer to the Levantines because the Levantines have strong ancient Egyptian ancestry, and
But I
people
think
look at
that's
me
where
like,
they would
okay,
introduce like
Right.
those
It
cultural
all
diffusions,
depends.
those different things for like the sedentary culture. Like I think that's why that helps,
That's
kind of like
that's actually what
structure a bit of
Ngozi
that.
be saying. Hey, but that's actually what Ngozi be trying to tell y'all. Exactly what my man's just said. Like that though everything that y'all be attributing to Levantine and Arab and all this is North African.
some of it
But
is,
y'all
some of it
be
ain't.
attributing everything one way. Like everything is Arab or everything is Levantine. Like no, like this North African is a significant part of that region.
But
It's matter of
Yeah, they
fact,
just saying the influence is
a
in reverse,
dominant part of the region,
not going
right?
outward, it's coming inward.
but
That's
check this out though. If we racialize
the
everything,
influence coming from
when
outward.
you say when you say North African, a racialized person, to them North Africans are not black, and ancient North
Right.
Africans are not black. So they'll dismiss. Oh, you saying they North African? They will never dismiss that. They'll never like accept. Nah, they can't be North African. They have to be, no, they black because sub-Saharan Africa it is, and sub-Saharan Africa it is, and Nubian that. So the erasure of indigenous North African substratas because they light skinned, that's a problem in and of itself.
Yeah. They don't understand that it's more than one way to do things, right? It's more
Yeah,
than one way to be African.
but
They don't accept.
even the dark skin, they would lose that too because they don't understand that a motherfucker could look like Corey in North Africa, and from a genetic standpoint, based on how they're defining the variables, would not be sub-Saharan Africa.
Parkery.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Parkery.
I agree with that.
Yeah, Taco Corey, for example.
There you go.
You know what I'm
There you
saying?
go.
Yeah.
For those
Yes.
that know how the skeleton looks and knows the material culture and knows how the teeth look and that's the sample right there. ANA.
Yeah. No,
That's your North African.
them are some niggas, dog. Based on how we define it today, Taco Corey, them some niggas, bro. You know what I'm saying? Again, I always run to Andamanese Island, Corey. I know it'll be making you mad, but it's just to make a point, right? Based on genetics, depending on how you define it, the Andamanese are not African; they're Asian. But
Well, they not
if you were,
African.
huh?
They not African.
It's not African at all.
Right. That's
It
what
don't matter how you define it.
that's what I'm saying. Now you take them motherfuckers and drop them in Congo, blend right in. I'm
I
not
don't know,
talking about the
man.
I don't know
culture.
about
Hold on.
They may
blend.
be
I
dead
mean,
in a
Hold
week.
on.
maybe from a macrocosmic view, maybe,
Yeah, I'm saying
but
taking out the culture and all of that stuff said. You feel me? Just if you was just walking around Congo and you saw the motherfuckers in Congo, you ain't gonna look and say, oh, them some Asians.
people don't people don't exist in a vacuum like that. Like there's things that separate, like just even the closest of groups. So I mean, I don't know, bro. It's really
Nah, but this is what I'm saying. Said if you was to take a typical Chinese person, right, a modern day Chinese person, drop them in Congo, they gonna stick out like a sore thumb. You see what I'm saying?
Not
You drop
today.
I want to say it's heavy.
Oh shit!
They heavy
Oh
down there
shit! That's
today.
funny.
Yeah, but we know what
That's
he mean.
funny.
We know it. I know what you mean, though.
That's funny.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. Yeah, visually, you're saying they would stick out for sure. I mean,
Yeah, y'all caught what Ashton just said.
yeah, he said not today. Oh, stupid.
That's funny, dog. Hey, them motherfuckers all in Jamaica, man. The
Nigga, bro.
Chinese is not
Bro, I
fucking
spend, nigga,
around,
Nothing
bro.
for
I
nothing,
travel for a
no.
living, so I spend months in Africa, bro. Like I get off planes in Kenya and South Africa, Johannesburg, and you think I'm pulling money out of ATM that say Bank of China. I'm like, oh no, this is crazy.
Yeah.
This shit wild.
You know, if I can
Crazy.
say one thing about that though, one reason it's a whole bunch of Chinese is because certain building projects are open to the international community. And China is building shit fast and cheap, and they outbidding Europeans. They have, different sets of labor. They gonna bring their own workers that are paid a certain amount. They ain't got like benefits and all this. So the world can't compete with China. And so some of what people thinking is predatory, nah, it's just China winning all the damn bids. Who built
And
this
let me
Got the
road?
tell you,
China. Who built the
a
hospital?
lot.
China. Who built this? China. They winning the bids.
But hey, it's just like in Jamaica, right? They gave local contractors the money, and they fucked that shit off. I ain't gonna lie to you, like
Yeah, I was just in
you
Jamaica
know,
like last year. I was in Port Antonio. When I'm telling you, I seen so many Chinese folks, it wasn't even funny, boy. Good God
yeah,
Almighty.
yeah. They act
Good
like
gracious.
Ashton. I ain't gonna lie to you, bro. So-called black folks worldwide, like I don't know, man. In Africa, in the diaspora, we something just ain't right. Like we got to get our shit together. Like they gave them contractors in Jamaica all that fucking money to build them highways and build them roads and shit, and them
Bro,
motherfuckers
the
ain't do nothing, bro.
world
They don't
don't
want
think
it.
like us.
They
Like
don't. They
No, they
don't
that's
don't.
want
The
why
it
world don't think
enough.
nothing like us.
the world. That's why in Africa, China, they doing business. They doing business.
Yeah.
They ain't thinking about who black and who white and who from Africa. Who
Mhm.
they saying who can get this shit done? We need a hospital. Who can come in here and build this
Facts.
motherfucker?
Ain't no pan Africanism over there.
Yeah, they
That's the
trying
fact.
to get shit done. It's about money, commerce, trade. You
Yeah.
see what I'm saying? Like, ain't nobody thinking like us and all of the. We need to get the Pan African. Nobody's thinking that.
bullshit.
Nobody in the whole world is thinking that. But African Americans. Nobody even in Africa is thinking this. Somebody who's scamming you from Africa is thinking that, right? But not.
But that's not what we do, though. I mean, if you think about it, when do Africans build things? That's not something that you see being done by us. You dig what I'm
They
Right.
saying?
building shit.
In recent,
I beg to differ.
in,
I see Africans
no,
building
no,
shit in Africa.
I think he's
No,
but he's saying,
No, I don't think that's
go
what
ahead,
Chef's
go ahead,
saying.
I don't agree
go
with
ahead,
that.
Chef. Go
Yeah,
ahead, Chef.
My infrastructures.
yeah, we don't do that. Like you're talking about something that I don't know if we even capable of doing it. You
Oh
dig what I'm
Africans
damn,
build
saying?
Chef.
infrastructure. Have you been to Africa, Chef?
No. If you look at Africa,
Okay.
Africa was
I have
built up.
many times.
No, they
Africa
build
was
stuff.
built.
They just broke,
Africa was
man.
not the modernization of Africa was not built by Africans
Some of it was.
under the tutelage
The
of
labor,
somebody
they do
else.
the labor, but they not
And
the
I'm not.
architecture
Yeah,
behind it.
you ain't gonna convince
no,
me of
some
that.
of
That's
them.
not something that
Bro,
we
nah,
do.
bro. When you go to
If that's the
No,
Johannesburg,
case,
bro,
some
you're gonna
places you
see
go, they
Japanese
design their
architecture.
shit.
You're gonna see Chinese architecture. You're gonna see a
Yeah.
lot of Western,
Mhm.
influential architecture. You're not gonna see like, I don't even know what I would look at over there and see like, oh, that's an African
yeah, that's
design.
not
It's
No,
something
like,
that
but
we
that's
do.
the
You got to
oh
be
no,
honest.
that's the
and
way
I've
of the
been everywhere,
world.
bro. I've
Everybody
been
is building
Ghana,
using modern.
Kenya,
Like somebody
Sudan,
copied because they got a skyscraper. They can't
Nigeria.
have a skyscraper.
I
They
don't
do.
think
They can't have a
Africans
glass
build
building.
Samson City.
skyscrapers.
If you go look at
Africans
Samson City
don't
in
build
South Africa,
skyscrapers, though.
Yes, they do.
They do not.
I've been to Africa in a country that built skyscrapers.
Yo,
Which
I
Like, what
country?
are you
What
talking
guarantee that
about?
them.
country?
Well, if that's the case, then those
He
Africans will
talking
be
about the engineering.
like you see the Japanese and the Chinese can go to other countries like Jamaica and do that, then we will be going to Africans for them to do that shit. They
It
don't
would
do
be too
that, bro.
expensive. They do. Go
Like,
to Africa and you can see buildings built
What
by the
country are you
Africans,
talking
skyscrapers.
about? What country
I've been
specifically?
Ethiopia, the one that ain't never been colonized. I've been there like almost 10
Mhm.
times.
And if you look at
All
Addis
right.
Ababa, bro,
Man,
that
Chinese build it.
architecture
The Chinese build over
it's
there
not a
all
lot of skyscrapers in Addis Ababa, bro. It's not a lot, bro.
because
It
because
is a
they
lot. I was
Man,
just
when you
there
say a
a
lot,
year and a half ago.
they have a
they
baby little skyline. I know what you're talking about.
Nah,
It's not
man,
really
he said
I
a baby
mean,
skyline.
you talk
the
about
baby
okay. So
skyline,
what do we
fam.
talk about here? We talk about developing nations,
The baby
right?
sky.
We talk about developing nations.
For sure, yeah,
Poor,
that's
Jackass
what
poor
they just
dog.
call
nations.
developing nations. I get you on that for sure.
They are building. They have experts. Maybe they don't have a lot of them. Maybe yeah, there's brain drain, but they have experts. They have engineers. They build their own shit. They just broke. It takes money to build shit.
Listen, all of the countries that came out of colonization started off broke. So China started off broke. They came
Nah,
out of
but China
India started
China
off
got a
broke.
jump start. China got a huge shot in the arm from the West, though.
Singapore
A
got
Man,
colonized
huge.
by the British for
I'm
150
not gonna let
years.
y'all do that.
The
I'm not gonna let
civilization that
y'all
goes
do that.
back 3,000
Chef, that's
years
a
though.
fact. That's a fact. I ain't made
No,
that up.
he said that their civilization goes back 3,000 years. But I'm
Yes,
talking
China.
about the modernization of China.
That's a
That's
continued.
not coming from their 3,000-year
No,
old
yes, it
history.
is. Yes, it is. The
Oh my
Chinese
God.
consider
Nah.
the
I
Chinese. I'm
gotta
gonna tell you,
disagree there,
the
Aston.
China.
I gotta
No,
disagree.
you disagree with the
When
Chinese.
they were
The
cut off, when
Chinese
they were cut
consider
off, no, but Chef is when they were cut off from the world, they wasn't doing that. Is when they opened up to the world, stopped being isolationist, right? And the West came in, most notably America, right? They went in and they taught them a lot of shit. And what the
Yeah,
Chinese
bro.
did,
Addis
because they're
Ababa was built up by the Italians, bro. Like in real talk, bro. The 1920s and shit, man. Go read about that shit, bro. It's serious. Like if you look at all the
they not.
furniture that
But
was even brought up
what's
in there,
wrong
bro.
with
All
that?
that modernization, that furniture was all European furniture and everything they was bringing in there. European consultants and all that shit
So
that they
y'all
did,
arguing
bro.
that we can't have trade? Only
I'm
No, I'm
saying
America
we're
saying
can
that it
not.
have
was
the
with the
car because
assistance.
I'm saying we're not fit for the modern world like we think we are.
I think you're wrong. I think that's wrong. That's like saying Asians can't build cars. Asians don't build cars
Oh, they
because Asians
do.
didn't invent the car.
They do.
And
They running
and
away
and
with that shit
Africans
too.
and Africans build skyscrapers
Where? They don't even build cars. Like
in Africa.
Africa's so far behind. Like it's
You
crazy.
said
Like
they don't build them. They developing nations that's been going over decades of strife and civil war and independence and this and that. Man,
no.
these
The whole
countries is
world been
60 and
coming
70
out of
years old.
colonization. Hold on. The whole
nah,
Yeah,
it's
and
not
the
the
world was
world is a
same
coming out
though.
of
ghetto.
colonization
It's not the
around
And the
the
same
world is
though,
same
a
Chef.
time.
ghetto. The
Yeah, it's
world is
not
a
Bro,
the
ghetto.
same, Chef.
no,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna let y'all do this. The whole world, damn near, was coming out of colonization the same at around the same time. You dig what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? So, matter of fact, Haiti might be one of the oldest decolonized countries in the fucking world.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
the
and the
oldest.
most fucked with
Hey,
too.
hey,
Right.
but
So now
but
you look
Chef,
at Haiti.
hey, y'all hold on.
Haiti, the
Hey,
independence of Haiti is
mhm,
older than everything in Asia. So they had a head
mhm,
start, probably 100
right,
something years
right.
before
They was paying
anybody in
reparations
Asia.
for France
Hold
all
on,
that
Aston,
time. Come
Aston.
on.
I want this one. Let him finish. I want this one. I want it. Go ahead, Chef.
I'm shooting from there, but I'm just saying, you feel me?
Keep
We
going.
can
Keep
have this
going.
conversation, but I'm saying, like, if you see all these other countries, right? They
Keep going
develop.
with Haiti. Keep going with Haiti. What you were saying on Haiti. Keep going.
Oh yeah. Haiti, you know what I mean?
Mhm. They got their
Got their
independence
independence.
in the early 19th century. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Keep going.
yeah. So, Korea, all of them light years ahead of them, light years ahead of fucking
Right.
Haiti. You feel
All
me?
right.
So
So I
how is
feel
that
you.
possible?
Right. So this is how it's possible. When you're comparing, I'm glad you chose Haiti as an example, right?
Because it's a
Once
black
Haiti
country.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess, but that wasn't really going into my point. The reason why I'm glad you picked Haiti is to illustrate that once Haiti got its independence in 1804, right, and they built the citadel, that was built by Haitians, and that ain't no little, that ain't no bullshit structure, right? I don't know if you're familiar with the citadel, right?
Yeah,
Now,
that was French
hold,
architecture, bro. Like, are you?
hold on. It was
Oh,
built by a local population. The question you asked
labor,
was
labor.
no, not just the labor, not just the labor. The architects and everything were Haitian. Those were not French people that they brought in to do the architecture and all of that. No, 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 no. You got to get brushed up on that. No,
All
but
right, I'm
my
gonna look that up. But go ahead, make your
yeah.
point.
So you was just shooting from the hip on that? You was a motherfucker.
Yeah.
But
I know in Ethiopia it was the French and
this
Italians and all that. I
this
can show you that.
If
this
I
is
look this
why.
shit up, Haskell, and I find
Mhm.
a white man behind that shit, yo, I'm telling you, like, don't do
Look, but look, the point is, right? When
that. Watch what
Haiti,
you saying,
hold on, when Haiti deposed France and kicked them
right?
out of Haiti, right?
Mhm.
Every European nation in the motherfucking planet damn near clicked up and did
Thank you.
everything to subvert the body politic of Haiti.
Thank you.
Sanctions, all type of shit. They don't do that shit to the Chinese and the Indians and none of that. And the same thing goes for Africa. If you read Economic Hitman and shit like that, it's a
Thank you.
and the same thing with Black Americans. Let's bring it right back to
A
that.
lot of
Let's bring it back.
when,
Hold on.
No,
when,
that's not
Hold on.
true.
Hold on.
That is true. You just don't read books,
Hold
buddy.
on, Corey.
No, that's a blackology lie.
Hold on.
That's
Wait.
oh
Hold on. Don't
man.
say nothing.
Come on.
Asking. Let me get this. Because I'm gonna bring it right here to the FBA homeland. Right. We know about Wilmington, North Carolina. We know about Rosewood. We know about Tulsa. Right. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. They said Tulsa, when they destroyed them buildings, them shits was worth like 32 million altogether. They had banks, they had all kind of shit, right? Imagine Tulsa. Hold on. My overarching point is if Tulsa would have been left unabated, right? From the period that they were in their development that they were up until this modern period, right, Chef? That area would have been some hell of a shit. There'd have been a bunch of black billionaires in that motherfucker, right?
I agree, business wise, yes.
No,
I agree, business
but
wise.
look,
But
Chef,
that city was
hold
Go
on.
ahead.
Not only business wise, right? Every victory typically is going to bring you closer to another victory. Every loss is going to bring you closer to another loss. I'm kind of fucking that up, but the point is, right? The brain trust that would have been developed out of that, right? Because most of us, dog, we grew up on bullshit. If we being real, right? We don't have a continuous culture of where
Success.
we're striving for excellence and we're
Right.
keyed in on. A lot of us when we was young, did a lot of bullshit, hanging out, smoking weed, and just doing bullshit, trying to fuck every goddamn woman in the world and shit, right? What I'm saying is, if we take Tulsa, Oklahoma, when you talk about the schools that they had business schools, they had banks, all of that shit. Every successive generation would have been better than the next, Chef, is what I'm saying, right? There is
I'm
no
with you.
human, right? There is no humanity as a group. We all have the same capacity. What's
Question,
fucked up
Jeff.
about?
Oh, he back. All right, go ahead.
Yeah.
Blanked out for a
We
minute.
all got the same. Yeah, we all got the same capacity. The reason why we're so behind, that's in Africa, is because of the subversion and a lot of bad habits that we pick up where we just more invested in a lot of bullshit. Like, look at the Chinese, how they do them children from damn near from day one. They on their ass.
Do
Nigga,
you
you
know?
coming home?
Do you know that black people got more countries, more land than any other group of people on planet Earth. So you telling me out of all is 54 countries in Africa, is about what 18 black countries in the Caribbean. We got about 70 something countries all together, and we ain't got
They all
one
got
successful
skyscrapers.
one.
They all got skyscrapers.
And we
Here's a
hold on,
question for you.
we don't have one successful one out of
Define success.
70 something
Hey, Chef,
countries.
I ain't
More
gonna
than
lie.
any other
Success.
race of
Hey,
people
you sound
in
you sound
the
hella
world.
you on your Chief X shit right now. You
I
sounding
know, but
dead
Yeah.
like Chief X.
I am,
No,
because y'all
here's
need
my
this.
question. Here's my question
Y'all
right here.
need
Here's
this
my
shit.
question.
You,
Okay. Tell me what's the last book that you read on like African geopolitics?
how Europe undeveloped Africa.
So you read that book and you saying what you saying. Did
Because
you really read that book?
I
Or do I
read
have to
it,
bring
but
up that Japanese word for people that buy books and don't read them?
no, listen. The shit, it sounds
Tsunduku.
good. It sounds good until you look at the totality of it. You feel me?
So you think it's just
listen to
excuses
what I'm
then?
breaking down to you right now.
You
You're
think it's
telling me,
excuses basically?
yeah. Look, you telling me out of 70 something countries, right? That tactic worked on 70 something countries, right? When you got China, India, all of them, at least one of our countries would have made it out of that fucking muck. It wouldn't have worked
define
on
success.
all of them. That shit.
You saying they're not successful. Define success. What level do they have to be at?
One of those countries out of those 70 something black countries that's a part of the the G8 or whatever. Let's look that up.
Because they broke.
Yeah, exactly. With
These
the
are
amount of
developing
resources,
nations.
listen, with the amount of resources and everything that these black countries got, do
Man,
you
the
know how
resources
rich
ain't worth
Haiti?
that. The
Hold
resources
on. Let me get this point out. Let's go back to Haiti. Do you know
Haiti had to pay a debt? Do you know Haiti had to pay a
Haiti was though, right? Do you
Yes,
know how rich Haiti was? So if Haiti was that rich, you give it to the niggas and they go completely poor, man, that's something ain't right.
Chef, wait a minute, Chef. Do you not know that the Haitians had to
right
pay?
with them niggas, man.
Hold on.
Something
Do you
ain't right
know
with
that
them niggas.
Haiti, Chef? Do you know that Haiti had to pay, in today's money, billions and billions of dollars to France for getting their freedom? Do you know that? What do you mean?
Makes sense. I don't believe no shit like that.
Okay, you don't believe it, so you don't know.
Wait a minute, Asin. So you don't believe? Hold on, you don't believe it, or you don't believe?
It's like you don't believe it.
Hold on, Chef. Hold on. Is it that you don't believe that?
Bantu expansion. So I mean, I don't believe Haiti.
Let me get it out, Chef. You don't believe that Haiti had to pay a debt to France for getting freedom from slavery, or you don't believe that that significantly impacted their development as a country? Which one?
A little bit of both. You said, listen.
It can be a little bit of both. One of them is a binary question. That's like asking, are you pregnant? And you saying a little bit.
No, I'm saying he's saying that they had to pay France for their freedom. I thought they did
reparations. They had to pay
They
reparations.
had to pay France reparations.
Yes,
they had to pay.
France was going to take over the island.
They had to pay their former slave masters back for the lost wages lost from slavery.
Yeah,
that sounds crazy, right?
So
they said by you getting your freedom and by you gaining your freedom.
How long ago was that though?
They just finished paying like a few years ago. They just finished paying like a few years ago, Chef.
Yeah, that was recent in our lifetime.
Hold on. So
see, you gotta know this information to have these conversations.
No,
Chef.
I don't. I don't believe that shit. I don't believe.
See, and this is the same way y'all act with the Black Egypt shit. You don't know certain fundamental information, and then when somebody tells it to you, shit don't. Man, that's some ignorant barbershop shit.
That is some ignorant shit. You don't have to
I'm
believe
gonna
it.
tell
You
you
can just
that
look
the
it up
Black
and confirm
Egypt
it's
shit
true.
is not even close to that. Like,
Hold
that's
on, they
why.
said they had to pay for their free. If I whoop
Yes.
your ass, I don't gotta pay you nothing.
The
When the
other
rest of the
countries,
white world
the other
got guns
countries ganged
pointed
up.
at you.
They ganged up on them, chef. If you whoop a nigga
Oh,
ass and he go get
y'all
10
niggas
motherfuckers,
believe all kind of shit,
it's
yo.
not a belief.
This is
That's
That's
what
common
history,
happened.
knowledge.
man. That's just
This nigga
Why?
crazy.
It only take you like 30 seconds to look this up.
Just
Why
Google
talk
it,
about it
chef.
for minutes and minutes and
How
minutes
about
You
this?
when you can
hilarious.
just look it
Where
You
up?
Brad's at?
hilarious, chef.
Brad's Chat GPT, but get these niggas out of my face, Brad.
Yeah, let me help you out, Chef.
Wow.
You should just
It
apologize
is
when we're
kind of
done.
hold on,
Chef,
hold on, hold on. It is
Hey,
kind
hey,
of
I ain't gonna lie to you.
Facts
hold
with
I
on.
have
daily
immense,
clarity.
I have
It
immense
is kind of
respect for
hold on,
Chef
hold on.
because he makes insights a lot of the times that I find really impressive and make me think. But sometimes, bruh, you could get on some real ignorant nigga shit, dog, and it be shocking me because I'm like, I don't see you that way. You be like, I don't care what the facts are and what hey, that shit ain't relevant. I don't give a fuck. Like, what?
I'm a nigga.
Okay,
I'm a
so
nigga at the end of the day.
hold on,
And
Chef.
I need a
It's kind of
defense against you niggas because if I
no,
don't
hold on,
know
Chef. Hold on,
something,
Chef.
I don't
Don't fight
trust
this one,
y'all
Chef.
niggas.
Don't fight this one because it's kind of true. But the thing that they're leaving out is France came back after they got their freedom. France came back on their ass with a fleet of ships and demanded some money for lost wages for all the shit they was accruing. And it was a rich area because France kind of built it up. So they felt you owe me some money for all this shit. And hold on. And we bouncing, but we coming back and they did a fleet of ships and punked Haiti for their shit. So Haiti really didn't whoop their ass. They came back with a fleet of ships on their ass and punked them for some money.
Even worse. That's even worse. They doubled down.
Why do you sound so happy about that though, Chief X? I hear a lot of
I'm understanding the reality because you guys gave some misinformation and said
I
it was a fleet of. You guys gave some misinformation and said it was a fleet of different countries. Act like it. So it feeds into what Chef's still saying though that they were kind of hopeless.
Chief X, do y'all hear the unabashed glee with which
Man,
he said that?
I heard it.
I'm not talking about no
I heard
personality.
it.
I'm talking about
It
He was
was a
getting an
little.
erection. He was
you
getting an
deflect.
erection talking about
It was at
they
least
getting
a
their ass
smirk.
whooped.
It was at
Don't
least a
worry about
smirk
me.
on his
I'm
face
just
when he
putting
was saying
on
it.
history.
Has
That's what I'm doing.
I'm gonna say it was at least a smirk on his face. If not
Yeah,
glee,
all just care
I'm not
about
gonna say
history.
gleeful, Haskell, but what
Yeah.
I'm gonna say is he had a smirk on his face when he was telling you that.
I was just clarifying. I was reading from ChatGPT because hold on.
I was gonna freak and you gonna get your own country, huh? But the French pull back up on y'all puss ass. Yeah, that what you get.
Hey, Halford.
Yeah, that's what happened. They pulled back on their ass. What the fuck I'm gonna romanticize it for? They rolled back on their motherfucking ass and punked them for their money.
And you made
That's what
that
we
up.
talk about.
That whole develop area. Get a source on that. Get a source on that,
Yeah,
Chief X, please.
well, I'm saying that's what the fuck happened.
No, you made it up.
The
Get a source.
mulattoes.
I didn't make it up. Get over it.
The mulattoes messed up Haiti.
Go ahead, Contrarian.
Tell him about the mulattoes,
The
Contrarian.
mulattoes messed up Haiti, man. That's what happened.
God damn.
Tell him about them mulattoes.
Niggas my complexion.
Yeah, that's them chef
Right.
niggas, dog.
Them chevron ladder pullers.
Hey, can I
Chevron
make a
ladder
statement
pullers.
about this to Chief X? Nobody lied when they said the European powers came together and punished Haiti. We was talking about the stuff that happened in the background regarding Haiti being isolated through embargoes and trade and shit like that.
Yeah, you misheard me.
All of Europe came together, and the United States, and the United States, by the way, came together and isolated Haiti after they independent.
I understand and agree with that. That's the point. That's the point I was making. I was talking about something else. I was talking about the fact that why they owed this money and how France got their money. That's what I'm talking about.
No, that's what we said. They was punished for their independence.
Hold on real quick. I got you, bro. Just let me finish. Calm down. Everybody's so jumpy. It's not a
Don't get nervous.
competition.
Don't
Relax.
get
We're
don't
just
get
trying to, we're
nervous.
just trying to clarify something. So what happened was, for them to get their money, France's leadership came back and pumped them for their money. Now, the later history is, different countries start having sanctions. Hold on. The later history is people did start having sanctions, and different countries got together and didn't do a lot of trade with them. Yeah.
And that's what we
They
said.
put some embargoes on.
That's what we said.
So
All white people came
you're
together and
clear.
punished Haiti for their independence.
Clear. Chief X is making some argument separate from when the European nations
No, the
ganged up.
argument was about
He's
the money. And for Chevron was asking why they owe money and did they pay for their freedom. I'm on the same point. I
Hold
haven't
on.
deviated. So
We
I'm
got you. We
clarifying
got
why
you.
they
We
owe
got
the
you,
money and
Chief
how
X.
they got their money.
We got you. We got you. Let me
Okay.
speak, Chief X. So
Okay.
we're saying on our end, Aston B, that the debt that France claimed against Haiti was due to loss of revenue due to them not having the slave trade anymore. Chief X is saying no, it's not that. It's
I didn't
for
say that. I
a,
did not say that.
or you're saying
I
that's
said
only
the
one
money
part
is
of
for
it.
the loss that they have from the slave trade, all of it, all that labor and all the things that they built up, and them losing the slave revolt. They left and was pissed off and punked them for some money and said, "This is money from all this loss of wages and income and stuff we could have had from enslaving y'all."
That's
So
a great
God,
point.
right.
Do you
So we
think?
saying
How do you
so we
think
saying
that
the same
impacts
not
Haiti
thing.
today?
what you're describing is actually not an uncommon practice. If you read up on the United Kingdom or the British just got done literally in the last few years paying off all those families that took those niggas to court and said, like, we lost wages
Yep.
due to y'all abolishing the slave trade. They just got done
Yeah.
paying these families off like maybe 4 or 5 years ago. It's very recent.
Yeah. People
It's
don't
very
realize how they destroyed a lot of infrastructure that they built when they pulled out of these countries. They destroyed that shit. Oh, y'all independents, y'all kicking us out? Man, destroy all this shit. Tear these roads up. We ain't leaving it to them.
So we're not saying something necessarily different than Chief X. So
No, we
man,
not.
that's
No, we
some
not.
Hey, when Chief X
He made
gotta
it
correct
worse.
you, Chef.
No,
When
no,
I'm
Chief
saying
he
X gotta
it wasn't uncommon for people to come back and
we
get
just
lost
all trying
wages
to clarify
from the slave
something.
trade.
People are
but Chief
making
X
shit
is
personal.
saying that the French basically did that on for Dolo. Like they pulled up on some gangster shit. No, they didn't. They clicked up with niggas and did
Do
that.
you want me to read what it says right here? I'm looking at
Go
it.
ahead.
God damn, I don't miseducate people. I'm trying to clarify for you.
Yeah, you do.
Okay,
Yeah, you do.
listen. Haiti owes France because France, under duress with warships surrounding the island, forced Haiti in 1825 to pay an indemnity for the wealth lost from the former French colony Saint-Domingue due to Haiti's successful slave revolt and independence. That's exactly what I said. Let me finish. This
Put the source
demand
in the
payment, hold on, let me finish. This demand payment, originally set at 150 million gold francs, plunged Haiti into crippling debt and was an unjust burden that stunned the nation's development for generations. But here's the reason why. Because of the successful slave result, then it gets to touch into the unjust demand. In 1825, France sent a fleet of warships to Haiti and demanded payment for the losses incurred by former French colonists. This is why they owe the money. This is what ChatGPT says. It's saying the same thing I've been saying. Okay?
That's great. That's great.
It's
Do you think that affects Haiti today?
Say what?
Do you think that's one of the reasons Haiti is poor today?
It contributed to it, but when you dig deep inside, people would tell you Haiti was on some spooky voodoo stuff and wasn't into the scientific literacy that they needed to be into. No. This is for real. Listen to I got a video on this. I'm trying to help. Listen. Haiti wasn't trying to be scientifically literate. They were leaning on spirituality, which also helped them fail as a country because they weren't building their own country up after the French left. They relied on spirituality, and spirituality can't get you nowhere when you're talking
Yeah,
about building,
I'm not
hold on,
saying they
hold
didn't
on,
do
hold
that,
on,
but I
hold
don't
on.
think that's what it was, T-Bags. I gotta disagree, honestly.
Let me finish. Spirituality does not help you on the world stage when you're trying to do trade and business. This is
They
why
couldn't
they
do trade and
failed.
business because they couldn't do trade and
Okay,
business
now
because it was
now
embargoed by
on
the Prince
me,
and the
on me,
European powers.
hold on, let me just finish. Let me land my plane. 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 I just jumped on. I haven't even been on here long. So what happens is today in 2025, I don't blame the white man. People are responsible for their own country these days. So I don't look for a crutch. Oh, no. But people are just simply fucking up.
Man,
Okay.
boy, I'm telling you, boy, it is serious around here. And they say we blackologist. what about the Oreos, man? These Oreologists, man, this is crazy, man.
To point out something I said that was wrong.
Nothing.
I
So
guarantee
you
you.
don't
I
blame
don't think it was
the
the
white man
spirituality
for the
that caused them to fall after Haiti's independence. A lot of this had to do with Dassaline when he did gain the freedoms. He started doing a bunch of bullshit like with
Part of
like
it
those
too. Yeah,
Polish,
that's also
those
true.
German
True, that's true.
motherfuckers, and they end up assassinating Dassaline, the nigga that actually freed him because he was on bullshit once he got in power.
The
So I mean,
mulattoes did it, man. The mulattoes did it.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
also
so
true.
he was making those Polish and German people that helped him fight. He was considering them black under the new laws and rules and shit, considering them noir. Like he was doing a bunch of wild shit, like creating an elite class with the light skinned folks. Like it was more than just some spiritual aspects to it. Like they had a lot of political shit going on that ended up them assassinating Dassaline behind that shit.
I totally agree. I totally agree. They had a lot of corrupt leaders, and they weren't managing stuff right.
Here's another question for Chief X. Do Africans build skyscrapers?
What?
Do Africans build skyscrapers?
Not really, bro. You know,
You've been to Africa. Did you see skyscrapers?
Let me tell you, when I did go to Africa, and I went to the beautiful park that was built up. What do they call it? Anyway, the Africans that took us on these tours and the helpers, they told me to my face, and I was shocked. They said everything of beauty here in Ghana, the British built up. This is what they told me. I can't make it. I told this story several years
I heard
ago.
some shit like that too over there.
I told this
No
story
cap.
several years ago.
You know what
But if I
somebody
tell
told
you
me?
that Black America,
So you don't need to believe the Africans. He's telling you the Africans told him that, Ashton. You don't even believe the Africans when they tell Africans tell you that.
Hey, get this. A couple years ago, when Ramaphosa, the president of South Carolina, first got elected, right, and he came in and he started confiscating all these businesses and all these shit, right. I was over in South Africa for 2 months. I spent 2 months in Johannesburg, and some of my friends down there. I'm asking them like, how do y'all feel about them taking a lot of the farmland and shit back from like all these Dutch motherfuckers and shit? They was like, man, I'm gonna be real. I preferred it when they owned it. They was like, when we gave it back to our folks, they started fucking it up. So they actually prefer the foreign motherfuckers to come over there and run the shit because they don't trust the local motherfuckers in their hands. I'm be real.
It's the same, right? It's the same thing that happened. Same thing that happened when Idi Amin.
Sound like
Hold on, real quick. When Idi Amin
That's
threw
what they
out all
said.
them white folk.
Argue
Hold on,
with
real
them.
quick. Hold on. When Idi Amin threw out all them white folk and them Indians. Indians was running the shops. Hold on, real quick. The Indians was running the shops and the businesses and stuff. When they left, shit started going to hell.
But that's what's gonna.
Indians back
Hold on, I got one of them stories. I was in Ethiopia, and one Ethiopian told me he's been to Kenya. He said he wished Ethiopia was colonized by Italy because then Ethiopia would have skyscrapers like Kenya.
And like I said, I've been in Nairobi, and these
but
skyscrapers
what's
is not
wrong? What's
what
wrong
they
with
think
that? What's wrong with that idea though? To think that you have to be colonized to have technology. What's wrong with that? Anybody?
So there's a lot wrong with it. I'm just telling you what the sentiments of these people today are. I ain't say all
Yeah,
of them,
but
but some of the ones I met have been.
But it's not
They
intelligent
share
thought
that sentiment.
because you don't need to be colonized to have a skyscraper. Ethiopia has skyscrapers now, and they built them. They have telephones. They have cell phones. They have TVs. You
Yeah,
don't
but if
have
you
to
look
get
at how all that shit came
colonized.
about, when they built that, they signed that Italo Ethiopian treaty with all that, and they was building those railroads from Addis Ababa all the way to Djibouti and all that. Like that was built by the Italians and the French, though. Like, and that was with what's the name? Haile Selassie brought them in there to do that.
Trade. The
Yeah,
point
for
is,
trade.
you
Yeah,
don't
they
have
had
to
a
get
treaty. They had a whole treaty
colonized.
going.
You don't have to get colonized to have technology. And if a
No, but
person
what
I
doesn't
agree
think,
with that. I'm just saying. I'm talking about when you
no.
bring up these different regions. I'm telling you like what I remember of
Yes, I'm
some of the
just
shit
saying
that
the
occurred.
idea,
Yeah.
the idea, right? The idea. Other places that didn't get colonized, they have those things. They got trade with the British, and now they have TVs and radios and cars and stuff. But to think that you have to get colonized to get that stuff is that's bad thinking.
No, so the
You can get that
Africans
same
today,
stuff through trade.
the Africans today in Africa, they're having these conversations. They understand this. They understand that they are underdeveloped, and they admit this, that we are underdeveloped, and we need to start doing for ourselves. This is what they talk. So sometimes when
That's
another
besides the
culture,
point.
no, hold on. So
The
sometimes, hold on,
Chinese
real quick.
don't have to
Hold on, real quick, you can
colonize
go.
them for them to get
Hold
that
on, Nick,
stuff.
you can go. Just hold on. Let me just finish my point. You can go. So sometimes people, like even in the Mediterranean, they did business and trade with each other. So they also exchange ideas, right? So people grow and thrive when you exchange ideas with others and do trade and stuff like that. So sometimes it takes another culture or people to come to another land where they may be a little underdeveloped, and then they learn from that culture, and then they may thrive a little more. This is just the
I
reality of the
agree.
word. Yeah.
I agree. That's how trade works. That's how, white people took gunpowder, which Chinese used to have fun, and made into a weapon and conquered the world. What I'm saying is you can get stuff through trade. It doesn't have to be domination. But simplistic thinkers say simplistic dumb shit like, oh, I wish we was colonized, then we would have A, B, and C.
But that's another argument.
It's a simplistic way of, you're not saying it, but people say stupid shit like that. You don't need to get colonized by the British. No, you just need better leaders.
I've never heard somebody say
people in
I've never heard nobody say we need to be dominated. I mean,
I want to get back on
I
these
just told you. So I've heard it. I've heard it. I hear people say it all the time. I hear white people say it. I hear black people say it. I heard Africans and Africans say it. Yeah. Oh, I'm glad we got colonized. That's why we have A, B, and C.
Yeah, you hear Black Americans say that they glad.
Let me be clear on what you're saying. Let me be clear on what you're saying. Let me be clear on your claim.
Because if they
Hold on, y'all gotta go one at a time, bro. It's too many people going. Go ahead, Chief X.
Are you saying that there are people out here saying that we want to be dominated by another culture? Are you saying this?
I'm saying yes. There are people that are happy they were colonized because they relate colonization with having A, B, and C.
I said dominated.
Colonization is domination.
That's why I'm asking for clarity. Listen, if you're not saying that, just say I'm not saying that. Listen, are you saying that there are cultures out here saying that they want to be dominated by another culture?
Colonization is domination. Yes. Yes.
China
Bring the
been
white people back.
independent. China been independent since 1949. India has been independent since 1947. Look at those countries.
So look at
And
Singapore.
you're telling me, and they all had debt that they had to repay, right? And Haiti been fucking independent since 1804.
You do know there was two Haitis, right?
Well, hold on, and there's more to it though.
Let Chef finish his point. Go ahead, Chef.
I'm finished. I'm just gonna wait for all the excuses.
Hey, you do know it was two parts of Haiti.
What is Haiti's economy based on?
I don't even know
What
China's
exports does
economy,
Haiti
but
have?
look at that motherfucker.
What natural resources does Haiti have?
The British ruled India and Egypt.
When France had Haiti, it was the most prosperous, richest motherfucking colony in the Western Hemisphere.
They was only growing a cash
I'm not gonna let you do that. I'm not gonna let you do that.
They were only growing a
He said,
cash
why can't they
crop.
replicate
Sugar.
that? Replicate that.
Exactly.
That's
number
because
one,
the
they
sugar.
can't grow shit because the land is messed up because they only had one
Not
cash crop.
Excuses.
Ingenuity.
No,
right?
pause. I got. Let me say this.
So wait, though,
When
but when we look at
Haitians,
Singapore, bro,
let me-
Singapore was colonized for
Singapore
150
is a
years by the
miracle.
British. They have a higher GDP than them now. Like we can't
Right.
just
Yeah.
keep giving everybody the same. It's like you have to change your system. They adopted a free market system. It actually helped them. A lot of places don't really do that. Rwanda's doing it now. A lot of places are doing it. So it's more to it than just saying like they left it ravished and they did X, Y, and Z.
Yeah,
Like
you know the average lifespan of a Haitian slave. That shit was like 3 to 7 years.
3 years, man. What's wrong with these?
Yeah, they worked them to death.
But we talking about
Just
post.
too many
I'm
talking right now. I'm talking right now.
But
It's 2025.
Because you saying when Haiti was controlled by the French, when it was a sugar colony, they GDP was way out the wazoo. Yeah, because they was bringing over Africans by the boatload and working them to death in 5 years. Of course, you can extract maximum resources like that.
Slavery is over.
He made a
come on,
comparison
stop talking
based
to the man,
on
bro.
a certain
No,
time frame.
you stop interrupting.
I agree with that.
It sure ain't over in your mind.
They maximized on that list.
Y'all making.
I give you that. I give you that.
Yourself and,
But we talking about
thinking yourself as
100
weak
years
and
afterwards.
blaming the white man for the failures. This is slave-minded thinking.
You just gonna talk
No,
right?
man,
I
go
never read
somewhere with
that.
that bullshit.
And stop
Hey,
being
I
all this
never read
crazy
that stuff
shit.
man.
No, you
I never
can't
read
do
it.
because of this and that. Oh, they heard they good. We can't. All this crybaby shit. Grow some fucking balls and man up. And
Listen
get
to
the
him. He
man
talking
back
tough.
and some shit.
He talking tough.
Boy.
Yeah, a lot of those
Anyway,
places were left in disarray. They deal with coups and different militias,
yeah.
like fighting for power back and forth for hundreds of years. So it's like, I mean, under their own volition, like they gotta take some responsibility too, because it's like
They got to take some rights, and you know what? My argument is they don't want it. They don't want it enough. They don't want it
possibly.
enough. When they get to the point where they want it enough, then it's gonna happen. Right now, they ain't there. But you can't compare the
Because if you
GDP at
look
the height of the damn slave
If you
trade
look at people like
now.
Burkina Faso, these people that are out here, portraying like they're doing this uniting of Africa and all that. It's like, yeah, they'll put out the marketing play. Yeah, we kicked out the French, but if you look at an article, they invited Putin in the next day. So you kick out one white man, invite in the next white man. It's like, I
It's
mean,
They
called
need
you
some
see
funds
the same result.
because it's called trade. It don't matter that they're white.
That's what we're trying to get at. Like, it's not about y'all looking at it like these people held these folks back. It's like, a lot of this shit is some of their own decisions as well. I'm not saying
A
there was
lot of it
no
is.
foreign influence. Of course there is. I would never say that, but I
But
mean, we
it
have
got
to
to be
do.
a fair comparison. You can't talk about the
Agreed. I'm
GDP or
with
the
you on
GDP
that.
of America
I'm with
at the height of the cotton when it was, beating Negroes to make them pick, 200 pounds of. Have you read what's the book? It's the whipping field. I don't know. It talks about how much cotton we picked, and when you look at the numbers, that shit is almost humanly impossible when you think about what people had to do under the whip. You can't compare like that life and those numbers now then to now because people don't live like that anymore. And Haitians ain't working
we
5
have
to
an
3 years
industrial
today.
age now. Like these
Let
people,
me read something real quick. Read something right quick regarding China and U.S., right? So Chef asked, how come the Chinese came so far in that short space of time and why Africa and Haiti and all them can't do it, right? So starting in the 20th century, early trade following American independence, the ship Empress of China made the first direct trade voyage in 1784, establishing a commercial relationship focused on luxury goods like tea, porcelain, and silk. Missionaries and education. American missionaries arrived in the 1830s, studying Chinese culture and language and establishing educational institutions, right? So this is China coming out of its isolationist period, right? Open door policy. After the Boxer Rebellion in 1900, the U.S. pushed for the open door policy, advocating for equal trade opportunities and discouraging territorial divisions in China. So all that infighting that they had in China, the U.S. was actively working to quell a lot of that shit, right? So now we move on to the 20th century. Political and military engagement. Support for the Republic of China. The U.S. supported the Republic of China government during the Second Sino-Japanese War, forming an alliance to fight the Chinese. Post-war shift. The communist victory in the Chinese Civil War led to the establishment of the PRC, or the People's Republic of China, in 1949, and the U.S. initially refused to recognize a new government, leading to a period of rivalry. In the 1970s, the U.S. engaged in a period of warming relations, beginning with the ping-pong diplomacy in 1971, followed by the Secretary of State Henry Kissinger's secret trip to China. Late 20th century to present, strategic partnership. The U.S. encouraged China's modernization and liberalization, seeing economic reforms as beneficial to global stability. Manufacturing hub. American companies heavily invested in China, using its large population and lower labor costs to establish a massive manufacturing base and transforming China into a global supply chain hub. The relationship evolved to include partnership in high-tech sectors, but also a rising competition, particularly in fields like semiconductors, 5G, et cetera, et cetera. My point in reading all of that, Chef, is to point out that in terms of China, once they came out of their isolationist period, America in particular, and not just them, but particularly America, did went out of their way to develop China. That's
and
not
a
the
lot of
same
that stuff
relationship.
was recent. And remember, in the 80s, we didn't want nothing from China.
Very recent.
Made in China was trash. We wanted made in Taiwan, made in anywhere else. We didn't take Chinese shit. And with big box stores like Walmart,
once again, y'all saying that until these Western and foreigners step in, you don't come out of your fucked up period.
Yes. Look at Cuba. If
So
you
you're
ain't
saying
trading,
that these
you're
other
gonna be
places
fucked.
couldn't work within each other?
No,
Africa's so
Sid,
resource rich, they couldn't work within each other to
hold on,
develop this
Jackson, don't
stuff?
say nothing. I want to answer Sid's question. The difference is, right, while those countries are trying to do their thing, the U.S. and other powers to this very day are
Get it, you're saying the metal
constantly,
and the...
hold on, they're constantly, to this very day, are constantly undermining those efforts, where in the case of like China, they were doing everything to help China. It's a completely different dynamic. That's my point, especially for Chef if he's still on the panel.
I'm still here,
Great point.
but it's hard for me to believe that 70-something black countries, not one of them can make it out of that. That's, I mean, like one.
Black Americans been free since 1865. Why don't Black Americans control? Why don't Black Americans control one industry in America?
We do control one industry.
Which one?
Jail.
Prison.
Jail.
Jail.
The spending part, man, not no jail, man.
So think about it. So it has to be something. So is y'all telling me that it's something that the system is so inherently racist across the whole world that even independent African countries, right? Black countries,
not
black
independent.
countries from
France run those countries, Chef.
Right.
Look,
them shits is not independent, Chef. They're pseudo independent.
Why you think Burkina Faso is trying to get from up under them?
So, Chef, I want to ask you a question. Answer my question regarding Black
I ain't
Americans,
trying
right?
to be funny, but y'all know y'all making us sound helpless than a motherfucker right now.
Hold on,
This shit sound crazy. I'm just listening.
Racism, we can't beat it.
Hold on, Chef. Let me get
some black countries and can't get up out of that shit.
Yeah, I'm just listening to this shit. This shit sound crazy than a motherfucker.
Racism is a motherfucker.
God damn, y'all make nothing.
It ain't no way out. It ain't no way out, bro. It ain't no way out.
And Chef, let me get my shit off though. Let me get my shit off, right? So back to FBA, Black Americans, right? Why is it that Black Americans since 1865 don't control one major industry in America? We know the reason why.
Y'all ain't missing the Booker T. Washington.
Racism, subversion, and undermining. And it's the same answer for what happens across the globe.
So you telling me, hold on, you telling me that America wouldn't have wanted African Americans to be successful?
Oh, not of their own agency. Nope.
Oh, man, y'all lost your minds. That don't even make sense.
Okay,
No,
okay.
the largest minority group. Hold on. The largest minority group, right? Would have added value to the country if they were economic. You're telling me that they are so racist.
Yes,
They said
man.
we're gonna take it. Man, get the fuck out of here. I don't believe no shit like that.
It don't matter. It don't matter what. It don't matter what you believe. It matters what can be proven and
Y'all
studied.
telling me what y'all believe.
No, Chef.
Y'all
We don't
believe that
We don't
racism.
believe, Chef. We don't believe.
And I believe in racism, but I don't believe it's that fucking powerful.
Chef, we don't believe that the thousands of
Something
black,
else going on.
Chef, we don't believe that the thousands of black towns that were established by Black Americans, a lot of them very successful, right? That was destroyed by America. That's not a belief. That happened, and those are thousands of towns. It's not just Tulsa and Rosewood.
I know thousands of black towns got destroyed. Y'all crazy as hell.
Thousands, yes.
No,
You don't know Black American history?
20.
Man, see, I can't even have a real conversation with y'all.
Wow. So you think
Okay,
I'm making that up?
I got some factoids,
So,
Chef.
hold on, real quick, Ashton, real quick. I'm gonna let you get it, real quick. I want to make
even
one
have
more
a
point.
real conversation with y'all niggas, man.
Chef. A couple weeks ago, we was having a conversation about the Obama.
Y'all want me to
right?
sound like
Hold
Chief
on,
X, right?
Chef.
Y'all turning me into Chief X. I'm not gonna let y'all do it.
Hold on. We was having a discussion about the about Obamacare, right? And we all need that white America, right, as a unit, cut their nose off to spite their face. They knew that the Obamacare could benefit them, but they prioritized their racism over healthcare for themselves. So
Obamacare is still around.
They do. That's not the point. You know the point I'm making. Don't do that.
No, I don't. You better make it. You better make it.
Let me get a word in.
You ain't making it.
Go ahead, Ashton.
Let me get a word in.
I
I'll
have
suggest
no
the book.
clue
I
what
just finished
point
the
you're
book.
trying to make right now.
I just finished the book, Dying of Whiteness. And this book talks about how white people cut off their nose to spite their face. And there's a common theme you can talk about, and I put this on Twitter a lot, how anti-Black racism affects white people. So if you look at America and you look at American history, we were the last people to get workers' rights. We got it like 150 years after Europeans. Why? Because they don't have Black people. And if Black people got to get workers' rights in America, guess what? It ain't gonna happen. And it took 100 years later, and then guess what we celebrate now? Labor Day. People died for Labor Day. We got that 100 years after all developing nations. We have expensive ass schools. Why do other European nations have free school? Why? Because we got Negroes here. School used to be really, really, really cheap before integration. All you got to integrate, shoot the cost way the fuck up so Black people got to pay for it. Right? Healthcare. Who's the races that said, you know what, these Black people gonna die off if you don't provide universal, if you don't do universal healthcare? We're gonna do universal healthcare. But Black people would actually die off because they're inferior, so don't do universal healthcare. And guess what? We don't have universal healthcare because of Black people. At every freaking junction down the road, white people will cut off their nose. They will cut off. White people will cut off their nose to spite their face. Even so much so, right now, if you own a house, you own a house in a formerly red line area, your house is worth an average $60,000 or $70,000. Then the same house in a different place was white. Even when you control for crime, you control for amenities, you control for schools, you control for all that shit. Your house is worth $70,000 less just because you're in a Black place. Or maybe if you're a Black person in a white place, your house is worth. This is my own sister. Her house, they told her house was worth $500. She had her white person, a coworker, come over, take out all her Black shit, put up white shit. House is worth $725. There's countless stories of people doing that. You don't think that dragged down all the neighborhood by telling one Black person that their house is worth less? Yeah, they cut off their nose to spite their face. Furthermore, cost of racism, U.S. economy loses $16 trillion because of discrimination, the bank says. That's Citibank. Over the past 20 years, because of racism, America has lost $16 trillion in GDP. Racism is not supposed to make sense. It's not supposed to make sense. It don't matter. Your name is Jamal or Keisha, and you send in the application,
You
you're
cooking,
gonna
bro.
get Emily and Greg. We've seen these studies. We've seen the
I
study
don't
that the
believe
black
none of
person.
this shit he
Let me
ripping
finish, because
off.
I gotta really put it in. You've seen the
Yeah.
studies where it's a black person with no criminal history lose out the job to a white person that got a felony, or you take the white person that's a high school dropout, and that's about as equivalent to a white person, a black person, excuse me, having a 2-year degree. So you got a black person with an associate's degree that is equal to a white person that's a high school dropout in employment. You don't think that affects the job market at all?
So how are
Come
you
on,
even
racists
making
will
it,
cut off
bro?
their nose. They're gonna
How
cut
are
off their
you
nose to
even
spite their
making
face.
it? So you just a black success story. How are
Me
you even
personally,
making it?
yes, yes. But guess what? I live in the
Man,
hood. I live in the hood,
listen.
and I own a house in the hood, and I know my house is devalued by about $70,000.
I mean,
You
white
own
folks
a house.
aren't white. Wait, you just said white folks aren't introduced to universal health care because of niggas? Like,
Yes,
that's what you just said? Oh,
yes.
fuck.
A lot of things where America compares to industrialized nations, we dragging the stats down, and
They
white
not
people will not
giving
give up whiteness.
universal health care to
Yes,
themselves, to their
To
own white
themselves.
people, because they don't want to give it to us.
yes.
Oh, fuck, I
It's
can't.
always been like that.
You matter that much that they gonna say we ain't making universal health care, not because we don't believe in it, it's because we're racist and we don't want to give it to
Yes.
white.
You can convince. You can
No, I
convince.
do agree
Hold
that
on. You can convince
white people
And
white
do
you got
people. Hold
black
on.
people in Congress. You
You can
got black
convince
people
stupid
in
white people
Congress.
racism will
to
make
fight
That's
for
white
not
people
slavery.
real, yo. Y'all
vote against
tripping.
their own
Hey, let's
interests.
talk, Chef. Let me hear Corey. What you saying, Corey?
Now, what I want to say is white people will vote against their own interests.
So will black
Now,
Every
am
people.
I
damn
going to
time.
go as far as to say the reason
Americans
why
do
we
it all
don't
the
have
time, Corey. That's not a white or black thing.
right,
Check
absolutely,
that out.
absolutely. Now, but I wouldn't go as far as to say the reason why we don't have universal health care
Because you haven't
is
done the
because of
research.
black
Read a
people.
You
book called
ain't done
Medical
the
But
Apartheid.
research.
listen,
Read a book.
I have done the research. I have done the research, and I know what
You
you're talking
haven't done
about.
the
You
research,
was
or else
studying Egypt.
Calm
you'd be
down,
saying
bro.
what I said.
You sound
I'm
crazy
finna
right
bring a little
now.
bit of
Oh,
clarity.
man.
I actually
The data
have done the
always sound
research.
crazy to the uninitiated.
Yeah, I know it
Uninitiated?
doesn't sound
What's up,
crazy,
Simon?
bro. It doesn't sound crazy. Calm down.
Uninitiated?
Everybody calm down. All right.
Okay.
I have done the research. That's why what you're saying to me doesn't sound crazy, right? It's just that how we interpret things and how we communicate things, right? It's all in the communication and the interpretation, right? So
No.
now what happens is they'll do polls. They'll take polls of different demographics of Americans, right? And they ask them questions. Questions see the polls depend on the way the question is asked. So I think they asked a group of white people, like, did they want universal care if that meant Jose got universal
Nah.
health care too, right?
No.
Basically, in so many words, right?
No.
No,
You
it's
saying so
fine.
much, and if I go back to correct you, I'm gonna have to correct too much
Go
stuff.
ahead.
Anybody
Correct.
right now can just Google America doesn't have universal health care because of racism, and you're gonna see article after article after article, including things in peer review. This is not a new finding.
No, it's
America
not, and
has
that's
tips
what I was
because of
getting at.
slavery.
That's what I was actually getting at, though, homie. I was actually getting there. See, I'm not coming on to beat you down or none of that, like, because this is my area that I talk about pretty much every day, right? So, like I say, it's a lot of racism that goes into it, right? But just to say that
we don't have universal health care because of racism, that's a little bit of a stretch. That's all I'm saying, brother. I'm
It's
not
not a
saying what
stretch,
you're saying
and the peer
is
review and the
wild.
articles doesn't point to it being a stretch. It's the same reason we have tips. Europeans come here, they be like, "What is this tipping bullshit?" in Twitter, and I'd be like, "Oh, blame it on slavery," and everybody is all up in arms, and they Google it. Oh yeah, that is come from slavery. A lot of things is in America because of slavery. Why do we have suburbs?
Absolutely.
Fucking slavery.
Well, we
A
have
lot of stuff is because
suburbs.
of slavery.
I
Who built the
think
suburbs?
the suburbs was a Ponzi scheme or
Now it was a
basically
way to build.
a
It was a way to
scam.
build up the middle class.
It was a scam.
After World War II, it wasn't a scam. Look at it. It was a way to build up the middle class after World War II, and it was all government subsidized as long as you didn't have black folks.
Yeah, they didn't want
Yeah.
black.
So the thing is,
I mean,
right? The scam is the inner city, the neighborhoods that like probably you and me live in, right? We the ones who subsidize those suburbs. So that's what I mean. So they live outside the city, right? But they get the most benefit off of they get the most money allocated or whatever. So that's
we
all
getting
I'm.
fucked.
Yeah, it's a scam. It's a scam.
Yeah.
So can I participate a little bit in this? Just a little bit. My anytime you say the always or the in any kind of thing regarding politics, you're always gonna be wrong. Racism would never be the driver. I mean, politics going across all of that. I would say corporate interest is just as important as any form of racism argument when it comes to healthcare. You look at the amount of money they don't want any kind of no corporations, just big pharma alone doesn't want any kind of socialized healthcare. Now, is racism a driver in it? Yes. Is it one of the main drivers? Yes. I mean, you've had that since the New Deal. He's not wrong historically. You've had that with New Deal, Medicaid, Medicare, Truman when he did his plan. So he's not wrong in that case. But to say that racism is the reason, that's not even realistic politically. The same way you can't say all scientifically, you cannot say all in politics just off the lobbying alone. So the corporate interests are definitely a major driver and racism. But to just leave it at racism is the reason, it would always be incorrect. It just would be. So it's just not, and I
That's
don't
what I
need
was
to.
trying to say.
Yeah, I guess I shouldn't speak in absolutes. But racism in America, slavery and race. No, I'm kind of speaking in absolutes. But as the way I see it, in America, racism and slavery is like a big ass cog in the wheel that keep things moving. And it does. You don't have to do things now. You don't have to roll with the KKK. But the cog is already in the machine, so the shit is kind of baked in. And a lot of stuff in America, when people look at us and say, "Why are we so backwards? Why y'all do this? Why do y'all have tips? Why aren't y'all suburbs walkable?" Right? You know, why are y'all schools funded by property taxes? It's all these different things. Why do y'all colleges cost so much? A lot of stuff is a big ass fucking cog that says slavery and racism.
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing. I agree. No, listen, and I agree that it's in there.
It's in the DNA.
I would agree and I would agree that it's baked in there. I'm just addressing the exclusivity of it, you know, because the lobbying, when they're lobbying against it, it ain't, you know, does Jose want health care?
Yeah, they think
you know
about
what I mean?
money.
They not.
They think
The
about money.
lobbying it's a pure corporate interest, and the corporate interests don't give a damn about any of that. They just concerned about the money. So let me just do a quick little history thing. So you go back to the 1900s, they were already talking about they would call it social insurance at that time. But the AMA, once again, was against it because they didn't want it under government control because they wanted to keep the money. The insurance companies didn't want to lose any kind of market share. So I would say racism has something to do with it then, but not as much. I'll skip from New Deal, Truman era, Medicare, Medicaid. You got Nixon with that HMOs. That's where you start getting the HMOs and universal care, employer-based care, all of that. Clinton, Obama. You got all of those. So what I would say is the main driver towards like the 30s and 60s, I would say then. because if you looked at Medicare and Medicaid was literally to keep racial and class divides, and it was made almost in a way to ensure the racial and class divides. So it can be like a decisive, but once you got corporate interests, and you know that, Aston, corporate interests, it wouldn't matter. You know, it wouldn't matter. Corporate interests, if it made money for black people to have it, them corporate interests would lobby on that fact. And then that would be the main thing. But I don't think it's nothing we need to argue about. And I do agree with Aston. I don't think you can remove racism from any of this ever, because it's baked into any kind of political decision that we make in society.
Right, and I'm willing to say that too, Aston, bro. I didn't mean to, when I was laughing at that, I didn't mean to make it seem like racism isn't a part of it at all. But it was just the absolute, the way you were speaking in absolute like that. Yeah, that's not the total reason why they're against that, bro. I mean, the medical industry is a for-profit industry right now. Like it's that's where it's at. It's not about white, black. It's mostly about green, bro. You know what I mean?
Right
That's
now.
Yeah,
I just gave
right
an
now,
example how people
right now he's right.
America.
I'm talking about back then back then
he was
right.
right.
The decision,
Right.
Can I ask you a
was
question?
definitely the decisive driver with
Can I ask
Medicaid
you
and
a question,
Medicare.
Brass? Can I ask you a question,
Yeah.
Brass? Would you agree, or would you say that if the will of the people, the collective will, were focused on getting those things, and they weren't racist, that they could overwhelm the will of corporate America?
No.
Yeah, absolutely.
Why
no.
not?
Because the corporate, we
Why
live
not?
in a capitalistic society. The same way racism is baked into damn near every decision that's made for the entire society.
Racism is baked into capitalism too.
No. Let me finish. But there's also a for-profit class system that's baked into a lot of these decisions. So, for example, I don't think even with the will of the people, it's going to take a lot more than the will of the people to override corporations. Right now, it's safe to say that the United States is ran by corporations. And it ain't gonna be it's not gonna be the will of the people. It'll be legislation. It'll be something in order to change from that system, it's gonna take something catastrophic that's gonna end up hurting everybody, because even though the masses in the United States, the numbers that it would take for the will of the people to be enacted, I'm gonna say this. It's gonna sound disheartening, but the masses of the will of the people that you're talking about, that class, that group, even though it's the majority number, they don't have enough power in that majority number. They could will all the fuck they want. Nothing will happen. There's so much concentrated power, so much concentrated capital in a very small amount, where the will doesn't matter. And it doesn't matter if there's universal health care. They'll make money if it isn't.
To this point, because the collective
but you understand what I'm saying, though?
No, I get you. At this point, at this point, it may be too far gone. But I'm saying, if you go back to let's say 1900, before the AMA came about, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you say AMA, you're talking about the American Medical Association, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Right, and you know who was like one of the main purveyors of that shit was the Rockefellers, right?
Okay.
And their hegemony that they were able to develop in American society, along with other barons, but most notably the Rockefeller family, based on what they were able to do with the chicanery they did with the oil shit, right? How they got the railway companies out the road by doing a bunch of underhanded shit. But a lot of those corporate elements that have been able to take root and grow to this kind of monstrous, almost kind of undefeatable, right? This undefeatable level is because them people back then was so focused on being on top of niggas, like, oh, we better than them. They didn't realize that these motherfuckers was hoarding up all the fucking wealth.
That's the Lois White man quote.
Yeah, but
Right, that's the Lyndon B. Johnson. Yeah, that's the Lyndon B. Johnson shit. So that's what I'm saying, Brass. If the will of the people, if they weren't focused on the bullshit, the stupid race shit, back then, it wouldn't have got to the point that you're saying now, to where it's almost kind of insurmountable. You get what I'm saying?
Well, no, yeah, but it ain't just the power that makes it insurmountable. It's also, this is my conversation about social media. And this is where Corey and probably you get into these conversations too. The will let me just say this about the will of the people. About 75% of America, 80, I would say almost 80% of America wants universal health care. So the will is there. But when you have a situation where there's not enough power, there's not enough corporate interest, there's not enough political power in that 70 to 80%. So the will is already there. What you're looking for is similar to like a grassroots campaign. That's why I brought up the New Deal or civil rights or Obamacare, stuff like that. But now let me just push back just a little bit on this. Remember, anything now we having to deal with, it isn't like just marching or protesting. We live in an era where misinformation and disinformation and the political entities within themselves are so fragmented that even within the Democratic Party, a decent misinformation, disinformation campaign on social media may have that party in play, but the people all over the place. So it's not just about it's not just about that. And then two, in this particular case, there's so much shit going on in the United States. It's gonna take some form of organization. And then if you ever hear me when I push back on when we had those FBA and Pan-African conversations, that's why my first point is always you got to have some kind of unified message. Right now, the United States, black, white, green, whatever you want to call the people, there is no one unified message that we all believe as Americans. We're all over the place. And you could pretty much break that even in severe situations like COVID. You go back through COVID.
And but Brass, again, to cut you, right?
Yeah.
It seems it seems you're mainly still talking about current day. The power that the corporations have in America today didn't exist 100 years ago.
Right, but you're talking about today. I'm only talking about could it be changed today?
And that's right. So no, my question to you, I'm gonna revise it, is if the will of the people back then wasn't focused on the stupid shit, feeling like they somebody because they above niggas, as opposed to being focused on what matters.
Right.
We wouldn't have had a civil war.
Greg, what'd you say?
I said we wouldn't even have a civil war.
No, what was
I gotta break out. I just want to add one thing about
I heard you loud and clear. I was trying to figure out what his question was. Go ahead.
I think
my question, Brass, asking real quick. My question, Brass, was, do you think if the collective will of the people back then, let's say going back to 1910 or something, was where it's supposed to be, would those things be, you know what I'm saying? Would the dynamics would be completely different?
I think there would have been a time where we had universal health care. And I think just as fast, because that's around the time that corporations began to get the same rights as human beings. As soon as that happened, universal health care was set. So even if we had it, they would have came right back in at some point because there's too much money in it not being universal.
Well, but
remember,
universal
universal health care. Yeah, I know, but universal health care, remember, it's essentially healthcare under government control. So if you're talking about healthcare under government control, once you give corporations the same rights as humans, then that's going to get overridden very quickly because that's too much money under their control. They don't care about whether it's good or not. They care about it was one of the largest for-profit financial entities in the United States. Corporations is going, that'll be the last fucking thing they give up. Trust me. Trust and believe. They make too much money on it. They make way too much money. And pharma, that's one of the largest, if not the largest, lobbying
Yeah, they're the
now.
largest.
Yep.
Yeah, they're the largest.
So it's gonna be very difficult. But yeah, I ain't trying to fuck up the conversation. I was just trying to
No, I just want to get. I didn't want to get a word in before I bounce. I think the pandemic would have been the perfect time to roll out universal health care. That's a great excuse to get it past everybody. We're in a global pandemic, and if it didn't happen then, the will of the people is gonna have to be the people's will behind like some weapons and pitchforks going up to the Capitol, because the people the January 6th shit. They went up to the Capitol, but they went up to the Capitol for the wrong thing, in my opinion. They went up for some dumb Trump bullshit, but they should have went up there to renegotiate the freaking social contract with America and kick out all them damn lobbyists.
Yeah, well, those people weren't necessarily representative of any will of any people that I could connect with. And then part two, remember during COVID, there was the push. If you go back, there was becoming the push, you know, when they realized that it wasn't just black people based on underlying that there was a push like, oh, well, all these people need fucking healthcare. Because now we're starting to see that these people aren't dying from COVID because COVID is just some vicious beast. They're dying because there's so many underlying shit they got going on. They can't handle COVID. But here's the thing. That's why I kept saying misinformation and disinformation. Anybody familiar with COVID, the most alarming stat in COVID to me wasn't the deaths. It was a social media stat that they linked damn near 85 to 90% of all the misinformation and disinformation that was fucking people over and causing them not to get vaccinated, causing them to have unnecessary conversations. They linked all that shit back to about 8 social media accounts.
Wow.
So if you think that if you don't realize that if 8 social media accounts could account for, look at how much misinformation and disinformation y'all saw on COVID. How the fuck can the will of the people fight social media when they need social media to get through their day and they're getting pummeled? And it's all starting from about 8 fucking accounts, 8 or 9. So will of the people right now, your will, how many motherfuckers could go without their phone for an hour?
Exactly.
They don't even have the will to keep their phone out their face. And if in their face, they constantly getting pushed.
While driving.
Yeah. So, you know, it's not, you know, will of the people is a cool thing, but I would say the will of the people right now is universal health care. But there's not enough power amongst those people for that to matter.
All right, y'all. Peace.
Peace.
Yeah,
I hope I ain't
I know we discussed this before, Brass, but it was put on the table before Obama adopted that Romney care and turned it into Obamacare. Like that's what he was pushing for. But you know, it was a pipe dream, obviously. But you know what I'm saying? It's been put forth before though.
Yeah, no question has been put forth. I look at when you look at like you watch as much C-SPAN as I do. I know the shit gets pushed forth all the fucking time.
That ain't funny. I watch our local shit. I watch our local Senate on our local channel out here. We got a local
that shit gets put forth all the time. It just the shit dies. It just never goes nowhere.
Yeah.
And now we live in we live in the United States now where lobbying and big pharma, if they're not behind it, who gives a fuck? There's no point in even talking about it. And now, like I said, I hope I ain't messed up conversation. I just
y'all did, because these niggas was trying to convince me that racism was so bad that out of 70-something black countries, and one of them
Yeah. And you want to know what's even funny about that? When I spent all that time in South Africa, bro, and I realized, like, I used to think that, you know, they revere Mandela, and they do, but a lot of them were a bit discouraged by the fact that once he did get in power, he brought back all those Diamond Mining, De Beers, all those niggas, bro. It's like, bro, like, you can't just kick these niggas out. Yeah, they would probably, you know, not paying us our fair cut, but like, to think we're gonna just get rid of them and still have a budding industry is just crazy. And he knew that. He wasn't stupid, but they hated him for that shit. And it's like, bro, like that's why y'all were even able to flourish to the degree y'all were, because now he kind of brought it back to where, you know, y'all can benefit to a degree better than before. So to think you're not gonna be able to do that shit with nobody is wild. And like you said, they can't give you an example on any country that just took it in their own hands and said, fuck it, we're gonna build it up. Like, nah, that racism shit is really good.
I believe in racism, but to the level that these niggas is talking, yo. If that's the case, yo, it's over.
We
It's
fucked.
been
We
over.
fucked.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
we
never had
fucked.
a shot.
It's been over for us,
We
But
never
why
had
niggas.
a
didn't y'all
shot.
just talk
We
about
ain't
the
gonna think
ones
our
that
way
were
out of this
successful?
shit.
But why didn't y'all just talk about the ones that were? We have successful black countries now. So
No,
why
they saying
that
that they did it
doesn't make
without
sense?
any foreign influence. Like we trying to say, like, you know, a lot of these places had like their development also did come from their attachment or their relations with foreign entities. Like, you know what I'm saying? And that seems to be an issue for a lot of people.
But for
I'm
any
trying to.
country,
Which
to
one?
be
Which one?
successful,
Right?
for any country to be successful, any black country, any country, period. I'm gonna take it away from black countries. But any country, in order for it to be successful, you're gonna have to play the global politics game. So I don't
Right.
understand. No, there's
Yeah.
we live in all the geopolitics, finance, and trade. Not even fucking U.S. or China. It's all connected. So if you're
Yes.
trying to pigeonhole that into a black thing, that's fucking ridiculous. But you got let me look this shit up real quick. We already had that. That's how when I was having the conversation, I was busy, but I couldn't really say much. But you got Botswana, one of the fastest growing economies in the world since independence in '66. They got a stable democracy, relatively low corruption, and strong diamond management.
Yeah. Now we had
Barbados.
this conversation with
Yeah,
about
we
old
had
boy
this like a month ago.
down in fucking what was that? Rwanda, old boy that we was talking about that day. I drew a blank on his name, but a real common
Kyle?
name. Yeah, it was with Kyle and yeah, we was talking about old dude, the dude that's he doing good shit, but he also a wild ass nigga at the same time.
Yeah,
But
you want Ibrahim.
no, not Traore, the dude from Rwanda, the Rwanda mug, the dude that's because you know they got a free market system
Kagame.
going on. Yeah, Kagame, yep,
Yeah.
Kagame. We're talking about Kagame that day.
But
So y'all say Botswana and what else?
Botswana, hold on. Barbados, high literacy, strong tourism, praised for handling COVID-19 better than most of the Western nations. Ghana, a hub for Pan-African culture. A hub for Pan-African culture and tech startups. They call Accra the Silicon Savannah. Mauritius, transition from a poor sugar-based colony to a middle-income, diverse economy. These are, this is even under global racism.
Yes, but look at if you look at who their trade partners are, those trade like those upgrades to infrastructure come from dealing with folks who already got, you know, those industries put in place. So you bring them through to help build your shit, and there's nothing wrong with that. They took it as if like, you know, having people come in and help build your shit means that you're incompetent or you know what I mean? I don't know. It was a wild combo if you ask me.
And then also said, anytime we talking about Africa, you got to remember Africa was carved up by Europeans. So when you start talking about
the whole world was, right?
Whole world was,
They're
creating. Point was like all these places came out of colonization roughly around
the whole of Asia was carved
around the same time, and look at their advancement.
Yeah, but nothing. No, I'm not using it as an excuse. What I'm saying is, that then you get into the IMF after that. So I want to find the country that's successful without the World Bank. That's since the 80s. So I'm talking about
the IMF is new, isn't it?
No, that's since like the 80s or early 80s. I think I know it's pre-80s or 80s. So it's not. This is almost 40, 50 years. So you're talking
these countries
about
been free since the 50s.
Yeah. So that my main point is global success for any country, black, white, or otherwise. You playing geopolitics, you're gonna work with somebody. That's just how it works. It's not.
The IMF first came in contact.
Point was. Oh, go ahead, Supi.
The IMF first came in the early 70s to most countries. No country that borrows from the IMF has ever been out of debt. They got in debt further and further and further. The IMF has never assisted any African country. And that's 4 years ago, Greece itself told the IMF that, listen, we're not paying you back. Because all we're paying now is interest, and the world got skiddy out of fear that other countries, especially African countries,
Greece is broke right now.
Yeah, would follow Greece lead.
Go to Greece
and then
for like $40.
and then Greece, and then all of a sudden you heard that, oh, Greece renegotiated with the IMF, Germany helped them to pay off the debt, which is a lie. Because most African countries and Caribbean countries who are indebted to the IMF just paying interest, nothing else.
So
IMF is the
that y'all
biggest.
think that makes the country or your country fucked up and poor? If that's the case, United States should be under fucking water. You know
No,
what I mean?
because
We owe
no,
everybody.
Yeah, like I'm not
Right.
listening to that.
no,
Like,
no. Because you need to understand the difference with lending with the US debt and the
no, I'm
IMF debt.
saying we was talking about
Jeff is just saying
they-
find one, bro. Like one country that rose out of those conditions. Just
and
it's
it's
like
thriving.
No
it's
country.
right. It's like give us one that rival like what China did, what Singapore did, what all these other places did that have damn near higher GDPs than the people that fucking colonized their ass now.
And we got more countries
per
than
capita,
everybody.
obviously per capita. I'll throw that in there, but it doesn't change the fact that they do now have came out of that economic ruin and are flourishing to where they're now a global something that you want to be in partnership with.
No country that borrowed from the IMF has rise out of poverty.
Man, I ain't trying to hear that.
No, trust me, none.
I'm not saying that thing ain't true. I'm saying is what's the underlying factor for why these places couldn't come out of these states of ruin after being colonized like other places have.
All right, let me give you an example. No, let me give you an example of IMF loan. Let me give you an example of IMF loan.
I don't want to talk about IMF loans.
No. Of why most countries don't come out of the debt.
See, y'all always explain around.
There's not one country that came out of debt. Most countries have a debt. That's not the excuse because you're in debt still. Like Chef's point, America should be fucked up because we're indebted to everybody. If China came and collected their trillions, something that they owe right now, we'd be done.
China
hand it over.
All right.
But it don't work like that. We know it don't.
All right, okay. Most of American debt is owned by Americans. It's a big difference. The American debt, the majority of American debt, all they talk about the Chinese and the Japanese and all of those, it's not even 30% of American debt that is controlled by outsiders. It's controlled by Americans. So it's almost like you're using one credit card to pay off another.
So you're saying those countries' issue was they were controlled not by the people within. It was more foreigners, outsiders that came in and had the bigger influence. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, because of the debt. And when they borrowed money from the IMF stipulated what they could spend the money on and what they needed to do. So let's say you had.
So you're saying this applies across the board, like all countries that have once been colonized. Not one of them.
It's that simple. QPs figured it out. These African heads of states, their parliament, can nobody figure that out? But Stu Pease is telling you
everybody.
The IMF loan that got you in economic ruin still. Like I can't let that be.
Listen.
That can't be that cut and dry.
Okay. All right, let me just say it because
the most brilliant man in the world. You didn't figure out
no. All of them figured it out. Listen, all of them figured it out. But then in the 70s, in the early 70s, everybody just coming out of colonization. Most countries got independence from England between 1962 and 1974. As soon as they got independence, they started to develop our economies. They needed money to develop. Yeah, same thing.
Jamaica problem, they kept electing white men for the last 30 years.
All right. There's a documentary on YouTube that I want you to watch. Michael Manley, former Prime Minister of Jamaica. It's called The Debt Trap. It's a beautiful documentary, The Debt Trap. And he'll explain it perfectly to you fellas, that you understand. Because even infrastructure, when the IMF lends you money, it tells you that, listen, you have to sell these infrastructure in order to pay back the money. It's a debt trap. It has been since the 70s. And a lot of countries got caught up in the debt trap in hope that turning the country industrialization, and it didn't work. And what killed most countries is that after they borrowed the money from IMF, in 1975, between 75 and 77, there was an oil crisis where oil jumped almost 200% in cost. Or it was $10 a barrel one day, and you wake up the next day, it was $30, $40 a barrel. Developing countries couldn't afford it anymore.
Yeah, but
Imagine,
If I
imagine.
look this shit up,
Yeah, but
y'all,
you
like
gotta give some clarity those two P's. Okay, you
All right,
gotta
go
give
ahead.
some clarity. So no, I want you to do it because
Okay,
you're
ask the
acting like
question.
this is not like people. Most of the people on here probably don't understand how the IMF works. The IMF is not like Chase or something where you just go because you want to maybe buy a car or you got some kind of business idea. Remember what kind of situations that the IMF is coming into. In the majority of cases, it's an emergency situation. So any
Not,
step
not originally, not
no,
that way.
okay,
Nope.
but their role. What is
Nope.
their role? What is the
All right.
IMF's role? It's last resort financing when other people won't.
All right. There's 3 banks that most developing countries rely on: the
Well,
IMF,
I'm just talking about
the
countries. I'm talking
International
about
World.
developing countries.
Yeah, developing countries. That's what. Yeah, third world countries, developing countries.
No, I'm not talking about third world countries. I'm just talking
Yeah.
about the IMF. Period. When I brought up the IMF, I didn't bring it up in regards to third world countries. I brought it up in regards to geopolitics and geofinancing, global financing. The IMF is not in there to. They're in there to help you in an emergency situation. And the reason why they give you these conditions you're describing, you think that the way people are hearing you is almost as if they're just like trying to like, yes, is it a debt trap? We agree. But my point is that it's a last resort financing. There's other ways that you can get financing that would be better in your situation, I guess. But
All right.
what they're talking about is last resort. These are emergency situations. And then the other role of the IMF after they give you this money is to get your currency in order, control your inflation, and bring back confidence in the country. So some
I
of that
love the.
shit has to be fixed.
I love the fact that they went on ChatGPT.
No. I don't need to. I don't need to go to
All right,
ChatGPT.
because
I'm on the. No. Some of this shit I already know. If you like me to go to ChatGPT, I could tell you
no.
individual places. But
All right.
IMF World Bank is not. That's not even like a deep thing. But I'm telling you, the people you're talking to right now think it's just a bank. They don't
No,
realize what the
it's a
IMF
fund.
actually does.
It's a fund. It's a fund. Most countries raise capital through bond issuing, through issuing bond, right? So the issue bond and the international market. Now, if your bond is not selling, but you need money, especially to pay back loans that you got on previous bonds or loan that you got from the World Bank, the IMF will lend you those emergency funds to pay those interests, not to pay off the loan. Half of the time is to pay interest on loans that you had before.
And on the principal, you're not.
Yeah, but you know
it's
it's a bank. You do know it's a bank though. So like,
all your
not
payment don't go
stupid.
towards the loan anyway. It goes towards the
And this
principal
ain't
and
hold
interest.
on.
So
And then
it's not.
Stu,
It's not. Yeah.
yeah, like hold on, hey Stu. Now let's have a realer. Let's have a different conversation.
Let's not real. No. Let's have the conversation.
No.
Because
Okay,
the
let's have a conversation.
let me just say this. The
Okay.
IMF is like the IMF is like a predatory credit card. Most people, when they're in distress, if Capital One offer them a credit card with 33% interest, they have no choice. If the car break down and they need to get the car fixed, they're going to use the Capital One credit card.
Okay.
The IMF is a predatory. The IMF is a predatory organization. That's what it does. That's what it does to most of these countries. When you find somebody in a situation where they can't do anything and they need the funds, the IMF will lend you. But it lend you at such draconian stipulation that you could never climb out of the debt. Ask somebody who like most people who go to a payroll loan, that $500 payday loan. Half of the time they never get out of it. Simple $500. Because the interest, if you couldn't pay the $500 the first week, the $50 extra, it end up costing so much money at the end of a year. That is a joke. That's exactly what the IMF does.
So yeah,
It's a
but you
predatory
understand. All right, so land your
organization.
plane, stupid. You done said the
I
same
land my
thing
plane.
4 times.
I land
You said
my
predator.
plane.
Yeah, you started predatory, you ended predatory. We get it.
Yeah, I
But you
land my
also know,
plane.
hold on. But you also know Argentina would have failed damn near 10 times without the IMF. Some of these countries go into hyperinflation. There has to be something there to help them. It
And
ain't
why
remember
why
banks,
did Argentina fail? Why did
hyperinflation.
because of the original IMF, the original World Bank loan that they got.
So then what about South Korea, stupides? South Korea took 58 billion. Now I'm using ChatGPT. South Korea took 58 billion during the 1997-2001 Asian financial crisis. The IMF put painful reforms, but they recovered in just a few years. And unlike what you said, nobody's ever paid back. They repaid it early and became stronger economically.
Because geopolitically, who is South Korea geopolitically? Let's be honest. Look at South Korea and talk about geopolitics.
No, I'm being honest. I just told you what happened.
No. Who subsidized South Korea?
Huh?
Who subsidized South Korea economy?
I don't know, boy.
The United States.
Yeah, they're part
United
of the IMF.
States. No, not through the IMF. Through other grants, through other favorable. So the United States highly subsidized South Korea. So South Korea could have made a gamble on the IMF because America cannot afford South Korea to fail because South Korea is that part what they went to war with North Korea and China.
Let me ask you a question.
Any country that US got to war with and for, they stay in there for years and they heavily subsidize them.
Stupid.
Just like they do in Japan.
What about Nigeria?
Hold on,
He said
Smalls.
Nigeria.
You said no country ever repaid their debt. I just showed you one.
Okay, you show me a country that
Poland Poland in the 90s used IMF support during this transition from communism to a market economy, stabilized their inflation, and attracted foreign investment. Ireland in 2010 accepted an IMF European Union bailout during the Eurozone crisis, returned to growth within 5 years, and exited the program. So now I'm not going to say they're all successes. I don't know that, but I'm just saying.
Nigeria borrowed in 2020 for COVID-19. It's fully repaid. Greece in 2022. There's plenty of countries that repaid IMF loans.
Yeah,
bro.
and it's a bank. It's 2 P's. It's a bank, and they offer credit. These stories don't always end well. They end well with people that are responsible. I use debt to make profit. So there are people that already have a strong infrastructure. Now just take it from people to countries. People that aren't good with money, people that aren't good with infrastructure, people that aren't good with whatever, usually don't work well with credit, or they just throw their hands up and say they don't give a fuck. Countries work the same fucking way. You know why? Because people run them.
All right.
So it's in the same situation.
Let me hit back on.
So now you saying we shouldn't have an IMF?
Let me see the stipulation. The reason why Nigeria, the IMF emergency fund from the IMF was easily paid off is that years before, Nigeria used the oil money and pay off all the debts they had to the World Bank because they had oil, they had the resources. So when they borrowed from the IMF, it was a short-term loan because they had a resource that is worldwide demand. That's why Nigeria paid it off. Poland was highly subsidized by the EU when it paid off the IMF because they wanted Poland to become a part of the European Union. Same for Greece and same for Ireland.
Those countries you're making
I'm not making that up.
No. I didn't say you're making anything up. I would never say that. What I'm saying is you're making an unbeatable argument. You say that they don't pay. No. You said countries don't pay it off and then when I show you countries that paid it off, you then flip the argument to they paid it off because of this. Like,
but the countries.
You're right.
I was wrong. I was wrong with that. Countries with the ability let me not talk about that. Watch a debt trap because you think that.
No, and we agree.
There to help any country.
I started with you saying I agree it's a debt trap. I would agree it almost works like Capital. What'd you say, Capital One? I would agree too.
Capital One credit card. That's what
I'm saying though, it is needed though,
there are situations where it was needed and used correctly. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying nothing you're saying is wrong, but when you do say something like nobody's ever paid it off, and then you say like there's just cases where it
Greece
has.
didn't
And
pay
like
it
I said,
off.
I
Greece
didn't
didn't
say
pay it
Greece.
off.
You brought up Greece. I didn't say Greece.
I said Greece folded, and they had to act like Greece was paying it off.
Okay, I
Greece
didn't
never
say
paid it.
Greece. I
Greece
said
folded.
South Korea, Poland, and Ireland. That was it.
Right.
I'm sure I could find more if I looked. I'd have to chat GPT at that point. Yeah.
South Korea highly subsidized by the United States.
You gonna start telling me?
No, you can't go back there. Look at the country. Look at the country who they claim rise from the IMF. They realize that they're highly subsidized by other nations.
Because they're
especially
global countries. They're countries, please.
They're highly subsidized by other nations.
Yes, and they're countries. We need countries. We need a safety net. You need a safety net.
No, those countries that is not highly subsidized by a global power. And I'm talking about the Caribbean. And we talk about Argentina. Argentina is a shit show. Every now and then they prop it up.
Well, somebody, hey, we all got
every 5 years it sink.
Hey, we all got a drunk uncle in the family that need help. I mean, I don't know what to tell you, brother. I don't look at like there's a reason why when you look at countries and you look at debt, you can just basically extrapolate it out to people because people run them countries and debt. Look at most people are in credit card debt. Most times it makes sense. Just throw your fucking hands up. Fuck them. That's how a lot of people act. Matter of fact, I would say the majority of people act. There's not a lot of people that use credit cards successfully because a lot of it is predatory. A lot of it is to, I'm out of work. I'm gonna start using these credit cards. And then when you get back in work, your real life bills hit. It's just not realistic. I'm just saying countries don't. I'm not bigging up the IMF. I'm telling you the realities. I agree that it's a debt trap. I agree with you. I'm not arguing with you on that. But I'm just telling you there are some private banks that won't touch countries, and I appreciate that there's an IMF versus that country collapsing. Because if a country collapses, yeah, that's a bigger deal than to me the IMF, in my opinion. It's just more in my humble opinion.
Hey, the IMF saying Jamaica is a success story. No. Go on the website, and when they say IMF saying Jamaica is a success story. Granted, we are down paying our debt. Many sacrifices have been made. Many infrastructure has been ignored as a result of the debt that you have. Many free infrastructure that you had. Back in the day, we have 14 parishes in Jamaica. Each parish used to have 2 established hospitals. Now, most parishes don't have one because we can't afford it, right? Electricity never used to be so expensive. Now, most Jamaicans have to care for the electricity. You have to conserve so that you can't even pay it. Like the water, expensive. The debt has been, the burden has been thrown down on the people in order for them to pay off the loan and the interests. But then because
why is Jamaica in that position though?
Because most countries in this position can go all the way back to the 70s when the oil embargo.
It's a simple guy's name. Everybody know his name. You ain't got to look it up or ChatGPT. Motherfucking Eminem. If I say Eminem, who am I talking about? Who fucked over Jamaica? Yes, sir.
Michael Manley didn't fuck over Jamaica.
Yes, he did, bro. Them fucking socialist, weird ass fucking policies.
It was
bro.
That wasn't that. The Americans.
That was the socialists, right?
No, then we can lead it back to the Americans fucking over Jamaica.
No, it's fine. But Manly didn't help.
Let's
stop. So you're a Manly
stop.
fan, I'm assuming.
I am a socialist. I'm a socialist.
Okay.
I'm a socialist. Okay. And I was born 1971. Right? No, I'm going to tell the truth. 1971.
I know you are. You just told us.
In 1980, you could call it a quasi-civil war accord in Jamaica. The first time I saw M16 and the first time I held a M16, I was 6 years old.
We live, Stu.
I'm doing. No, I can't tell the truth.
I'm just
I
telling
can't tell
you,
the
bro.
truth.
Just listen.
Yeah,
Sometimes y'all
yeah.
say shit. I just be wanting to
No,
remind y'all. We
hold
live.
on. Let me tell you the truth. My name is Michael Smith. Everybody call me Leo. I used to live in Dwayne Park. I was a young striker.
You just ain't worried. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I was a young striker. If anybody who know what a young striker is, put it in. You'd have shatters and you'd have strikers. Right? So if everybody know what a shatter is, right.
Great shit. It was a great movie.
I don't know the first thing.
Right.
Yeah.
You watch a movie, right.
Yeah, I know. If that's the shatters you talking about, them some serious niggas. They got some ranch.
Right. So when you look at it, during the 80s, because Manley defended
You too far
Fidel
ahead.
Castro.
You too
No,
far
during the
ahead.
70s, sorry. During
Yeah,
the
okay,
70s,
I'm about to say, you too far ahead.
during the 70s, because Manley was defending Fidel Castro.
Right.
The American CIA decided to destabilize the country. We remember
Why?
when because at the time there was a Cold War going on.
Thank you. Okay.
At the time there was a Cold War between the USSR and Jamaica. And so the world was being carved up by those two nations. Remember, soon after that in Grenada, the Grenadian Prime Minister was killed. Remember, America went to war in Grenada? Grenada, one of the smallest countries in the world, a population of 30,000 people, because the world was being carved up. So it was a series of destabilization. Kissinger came to Jamaica. And when Kissinger came to Jamaica, Michael Manley told him no. And Henry Trudeau from Canada said, you cannot tell a man like Kissinger no. He's going to destabilize the country.
Was he lying?
That he's going to destabilize the country.
Was he? No.
Yeah,
Was
but he did.
Hold on. Was he lying that just in policy, listen, we're going to bore everybody. Everybody going to leave, and I really don't care because this is a decent conversation. But let me
not say you like this
here.
conversation.
No, stay right here. Yeah. Was he lying when they told him, you don't tell a motherfucker like Kissinger no? Yes or no?
But
was he telling
as
the
a man,
that it
no,
might
he was
make
telling the
sense to
truth.
work with, okay, hold on. Let me
No,
get in the conversation a little bit.
No. What you're saying to a man, say you have to bow down and kiss the ring.
I ain't say bow down and kiss his ass.
No, but that's what Kissinger said.
No. Hold on. There's a difference between global policy and kissing a man's ass. Now, here's the other part. You talking about, okay, land your plane, because I'd like to tell you the whole story that I hope you get to when it comes to Michael Manley and that fucking socialism. When you go ahead.
Okay, and Michael Manley wasn't communist. It was socialism. What Michael Manley was saying that certain infrastructure in a country, the government should control. Right?
Yep.
And that's what he was promoting. Right? Now, what happened in the 70s is that I was there because my father used to work at Kingston Wharf also, one of the biggest wharf. I learned to drive forklift at 7 years old in Kingston Wharf when Berth 1 through Berth 11 was completely empty. We couldn't afford to import anything. There was no real money. You couldn't afford to import anything. So you couldn't rely on a lot of American goods. Because the country was being destabilized. Because you couldn't choose who your friends are. If you're a friend with Cuba, you're not a friend of an America, because America sell the policy. The friend of my friend is my friend, but the friend of my enemy is my enemy. And if we look at it, that's the same thing that happened when, what's the new Secretary of State? Marco Rubio went to Jamaica.
Stay with Michael Manley.
6 months. No, 6 months ago. No, you have to compare and contrast.
Most people
he went
can't
6
follow
months.
what we're talking about now.
Yeah,
just stay with Michael Manley.
Yeah, he went to Jamaica 6 months ago to tell him that, listen, you are not a friend of China. That's what's being spread to most Caribbean nations, that you cannot be a friend to China and a friend to America at the same time. Did you know that was happening? Now I'm asking you, did you know that was happening?
No, I understand. I want you to stay on Manly for you spin me into a whole other place.
Yeah,
You
but I'm not going to
you
spend
done said all the positive
All
about
right.
Manly.
All right.
I don't
No,
want to
no,
come
no.
in and throw the
No,
truth
but
about
the only
Manly.
the negative about Manley was that he decided to go against the United States, and it
That
resulted.
ain't it.
What was the negative?
Okay, so can I get some time?
No,
Because there's a truth about
I'm
him.
done. I'm done. Yeah,
Okay.
just go ahead.
Manley himself in the 90s admitted that he fucked up. You know that, right? He admitted that his plan, when he put them socialist policies in, he had already realized before 1980 that, okay, so you were right. I'm gonna pick up from where you said he thumbed his nose at Kissinger and them. So when he thumbed his nose up, the and we all know how Jamaican politics go. There's some guns involved in these motherfuckers getting elected. It just is what it is.
And a lot of guns came from America.
Yeah, that's just what they
And
do.
a lot of guns came from America.
No, I agree. Yeah, what's his name? Sega, whoever he ran, whoever ended up running it. Yeah, right, Siaga, right. So when he got close to Cuba, even when warned not to, even when people in Jamaica were telling them stay away from Castro because Castro was getting close to Russia, and the big superpower United States was in the Cold War with Russia, he fucking still got off. So what they did was the United States said, okay, then just deal with them. We're gonna pull our money.
Yeah.
They discouraged investment from other people to go into Jamaica and fuck the money up. Now here's the most important part though. When you nationalize or you try to implement socialism, one of the things that always happens is there's a certain thing that always happens at the beginning of socialism. Productivity goes down, the fucking payments to this shit, and the debt goes up. So when you are now he started borrowing from people all over the place, not the IMF yet. He just started borrowing from people all over the place. But here's where it gets fucking tricky. He pissed off the United States. The United States backed the other nigga. I forgot his name. Sega, whatever. Siega. And when and then they started doing the guns and this, that, and the other. And one of Jamaican's largest fucking industries that they've always had got fucked up. And this is where Manley got fucked up because he was leaning on Jamaica's tourism. But once all that fucking gunplay and shit was blowing up and people was getting shot, that shit suffered. And once that happened, the crime rate went fucking crazy. And then when the crime rate went fucking crazy, that's when he took his ass to the IMF. And then he did this, Stupid, because even socialists went after Manley for this. Then this motherfucker agreed to the exact same measures with the IMF that went completely against his motherfucking socialist policy. Completely, completely. He completely, once he took that money, it was all over. By that time, the shit was out of control. Inflation, the fucking crime, the drugs, the laundry, all that shit.
No. You could cut me. You cut me when I was talking, so I can't cut you.
No, you told me to go ahead. No, you told me to go ahead.
When I was talking,
I'm just not saying go ahead.
But when I was
That's all I'm
speaking,
saying. When I was speaking, go ahead. You got it.
You are right.
You don't like this. You don't like this.
No. But you're not. No lies are being told. No lies are being told. All of us is just regurgitating history. And the history was that they made him bend the knee because they fucked up him country. Would you agree with that or not? That after they fucked up him country, they made him bend the knee. He had to come with hat in hand.
Yes.
That the American fucked up. If the American never go in there, never decided that, listen, I'm going to teach you a lesson, it could have worked much better. But the Americans went in there. Alcoa, the biggest aluminum bauxite company, because at the time, bauxite was bigger than tourism in Jamaica. Alcoa started playing with the mining of aluminum. So they started playing funny games.
Tell the people what Alcoa is, please. We got people listening.
Yeah. Alcoa is one of the biggest aluminum mining company in the world.
Okay. Yeah.
Because most countries, although they have the mineral resources, they don't have the infrastructure or the know-how or the money to take the resource out of the ground. They rely on
Right.
international companies
Mhm.
at that time with all of those infrastructure, the know-how, because a truck costs $1 million. A mining truck, a real mining truck, costs millions of dollars.
Mhm.
So to pull the aluminum out of the ground, you have to rely on certain companies that is good at it. You don't have the money, right? No, the American fucked up the Jamaican economy because he did not agree with the Americans. The same thing Trump is doing with everybody now. Where he's playing this instead of he's using the Kissinger and the same games that they played in the 70s to most African nations. They're using different games now. They're using the tariffs. Manley didn't fuck up the place. Man, the only wrong thing Manley did was he didn't kiss the ring. If he kissed the ring of the Americans and said, "Okay, boss, anything you say, don't be friends with that person. I'm not friends with that person. No, don't talk to Castro. Don't talk to your neighbor. We
The
tell you,
fair
don't talk
way.
to your
We
neighbor."
didn't say don't talk. That's different. You know how the
That's
Cold
what.
War
Yes,
play.
of course.
No,
Because
We're not saying
They
because they
said
didn't say
don't
talk.
talk.
No, don't deal.
No,
Don't deal.
I said don't talk to them either.
Don't deal.
Because in 1980, when Edward Seaga won the election, he immediately cut diplomatic ties with Cuba
Smart
on
man.
the behest of Ronald Reagan, who he went to school with. Because
Yeah,
Edward
we said
Seaga
no. They
and
backed
Ronald
him. The
Reagan
United
went to
States
school.
backed him. Yeah, he
And
was
they
he was a
backed
United
him.
States backed candidate. Yeah.
Yeah, he was back, and immediately he cut diplomatic ties. So when you said I'm wrong to say don't talk to them, the Americans just basically said don't talk to the Cubans, send away all the Cuban doctors that was helping in your healthcare facilities, get rid of them. Same thing they're doing now. Marco Rubio went to all the Caribbean countries and the African countries and was telling them, listen, I know that you rely on the Cuban doctors, but you need to do without them. Get rid of the Cuban doctors. And the Caribbean countries now say, no, we're not doing that. We're not doing that. Do what you may. Barbados said they're not doing it. Guyana said they're not doing it. Right? Jamaica said, okay, we'll do it. No, Jamaica did not renew most of the contracts of the Cuban doctors.
Anybody
But the
know what
African
but okay, so tell the people what the Monroe Doctrine is. You see, you act like we just didn't want them to talk to Cuba because we was just being evil and mean spirited. Why didn't we want them to talk to Cuba? Go ahead.
No, but I can't
What?
fully explain the Monroe Doctrine. But
Okay,
honestly,
where's Jamaica? Where's Cuba? Cuba is right off the coast of what? Miami, Florida. We don't want and then if Cuba's cozying up to Russia, and Russia, our fear was using Cuba as a staging ground. And if Cuba then gets cool with Jamaica, now we got two Russian fucking staging grounds this close to the United States of America, and we wasn't having that shit.
Yeah,
So
they didn't want the Russian
at the
expansion.
end of the day, this is how we always gonna view places like that.
no, but the same
The
thing was done in
Western
Venice.
Hemisphere,
Would you
the
agree that?
Monroe Doctrine. The Monroe Doctrine is that as long as Europe don't fuck with us, y'all
We
just
don't
don't
fuck
come
with-
nowhere near us.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, when in Monroe is for James Monroe. When they first put it, this is an old ass doctrine. It's like the 1800s. So when they did it, we didn't have the military power that we had now to kind of enforce that shit. But then as you go further up with the Cold War, now you got a situation where and me and Cuban did a show. Shouts to Cuban Crisis. We did a show about in Grenada with Reagan. We did a great show. One of my
what's his
favorite
name?
shows he's ever done.
Charles, what's his name? The prime
what?
minister. The prime minister of Grenada who was assassinated.
I don't know his name. I just know, and I know Reagan. I know Reagan in '83 because Grenada started doing that Marxist shit.
It wasn't Marxist.
And what? Yes, no,
it
no.
wasn't Marxist.
No, listen.
It
We can
wasn't
agree to
Marxist.
listen. We can agree to disagree. That's fine. But I'm just saying. I'm just trying to tell you places where it was used. Even Reagan at that time, like I said on Cuban show, Reagan at that time said what? We're not allowing another fucking Cuba. We don't want communism that fucking close to us. We don't need fucking missiles right off the coast of fucking Florida. We don't need people, spies and shit being able to come into the country from Jamaica and Grenada and all of that. So they used it for that. And I'm not saying it's right, wrong, or otherwise. I'm just also telling you, it wasn't just fucking fuck Cuba, this, that, and the other. We were trying to isolate Cuba. And some of that shit is right. They're a country. They have the right to do what they want. But I'm going to say this to you, Stu Peas, and you all know this, and you might not think it's fair, but I think it's a reality of life. Big bank take little bank.
All right.
So sometimes, hold
agree.
on. So sometimes Cuba gonna have Cuba thumb their nose up. Cuba got every fucking thing they deserve because they thumbed their nose up at the bigger bank and fucked with Russia. Thought Russia was going, Russia's just gonna be this, that, and other. They didn't do it. So when you do fuck with the big dog, you got to get your ass off the porch and fend for your fucking self.
Let me rebut that based on Cuba and why a lot of Jamaicans defend Cuba, especially most of them dead now, especially the older Jamaicans. In 1958, the Cuban revolted. The Cuban revolted against the American puppet government that was in Cuba. In 1958, in Cuba, you had segregated beaches, you had segregated hotels, you had segregated levels of education. People don't understand the amount of Afro-Latinos that live in Cuba. Don't base it on all of those white Cubans who ran away to Miami.
Right.
Fidel was supported and is still supported by a significant portion of the population with Afro-Latino roots because they remember what Cuba was like before Fidel overthrew the government. It was the same thing for Nicaragua. It was the same thing for Venezuela. It was the same thing for El Salvador. That the most of these governments, it was like the Iranian government with the Shah. If you know about the Shah of Iran, it was a propped up government by arsehole people who ran these countries and who suppress a significant proportion of their population, especially those which we will call black today. Would you agree with me or disagree with me on that?
I agree with you.
Right? So therefore, the Cuban rebellion incited a small fire under many countries who did not like the leadership, who did not like that there wasn't any true democracy. Although the Jamaican government have had its fair share of bullshit, especially the quasi-civil war, it has always maintained a level of democracy and exchange of power in spite of expressing force for the vote. You have always had. In 1980, the PNP lost, they exchanged power to the JLP. In 1989, when JLP lost, they were in power, the exchange. It's always expected that, listen, you fight dirty, but if you lose, you lose, and if you win, you win. We're going to exchange power in spite of fighting dirty. Unlike many African countries.
But when we're talking about global politics, we're not talking about morality. We're not talking about sovereignty. We're not talking about how they look. What we're talking about when we're talking about global politics is survival. And
it's about how you look too.
No, it's about how you look too. Not when you're one of the smaller countries. No, because this particular case, hold on. Well, I sat back. Cuba can thumb their nose up at the United States of America. Because even though they will get hit, their people followed Castro, but they were still getting huge amounts of economic support from Russia.
No, that didn't happen.
Jamaica.
That didn't happen.
But you can't, you can't word craze me and then let me not let me get my shit off. So then Jamaica. So then I'm not talking about time period. I'm just talking about. I'm not talking. This isn't a response to what you're saying. I was trying to finish what I was saying earlier before I pause and let you go. So what I'm saying is, Cuba could do that because they had that connection to Russia. Well, Jamaica at the time, they didn't have that kind of. They didn't have that that world power that was going to back them. Their backing came from Cuba, not from Russia. So now you're talking about Cuba thumbing up, but they got Russia's back. Cuba was still fucked up as a country. Even when Russia had their back, so they can't help Jamaica in that way. So I'm not saying it's dumb,
No,
like in
that's not
sovereign.
true. That's not true. That's not true. Because as again I told you, Manley wasn't communist.
I'm
In
not talking about
1978,
Manly.
no. Manley was in charge of Jamaica in
I'm
78,
not talking
79.
about Manly. I'm talking about the countries, Jamaica and Cuba. I didn't bring up none of their names. I'm talking about
but
Cold War.
but Manley was the leader of Jamaica at that time, and he wasn't communist
Well, he
because at
was
that time,
hamstrung. You could call him a leader. He was
no,
just
no.
in charge.
He was
He was just in charge.
he was in charge. But guess what? He
He
wasn't
led
communist.
them to the IMF. I wouldn't call that leadership. See, you want to paint it like a rosy picture. Listen,
I'm not painting it like a rosy.
No, listen, hold on. Let me finish, Supi. Manley himself admitted this. So I don't need you to believe that Manley fucked up. Manley in the 90s said he fucked up. He said my socialist policies, fucking the balloon payments, I didn't realize that the wages stayed the same, but the production was going to go down. He didn't realize that it was going to end up that way.
I would, if based on your logic
I
and
know
your
you're a
reasoning.
Manly fan.
No.
Every time I say man, you can't stop talking.
All right. Based on your logic and your reasoning. Based on your
It's not
logic
my
and your
logic.
reasoning.
I said his.
No. Based on what you just said, I would agree that Manley agreed that he fucked up. If you would agree that WED boys agree that he fucked up.
I've said it. I told you he did. Yeah, that ain't nothing for me to say.
Right. No, so I can agree that, yes, he agreed that he fucked up.
Yeah.
But at the time, without the
W.E.B.
American
Du Bois realized late in the game the talented 10th wasn't going to work, and it was part of his reason why he wanted to leave.
Not justify. We just want the fucked up part. Just the fucked up part I needed to know, not the
No, I just
explanation.
say he fucked up. Yeah, I just say he fucked up.
Right. No, Manley agreed that he fucked up because how he fucked up is that he went against a superpower. It wasn't primarily his policy; it's that he went against the superpower, and that's what he said. What he called it, something socialism, democratic socialism, wasn't going to work because the Americans didn't want it to work. Remember, if healthcare, free healthcare in America not going to work because that is almost like democratic socialism also. Because that's something that most democratic socialist country like Canada will offer, and Europe, and someday them not fully capitalism. They offer freeness to the population, and that's part of social program or socialism. But in America, they're not offering that because America do not believe in democratic socialism. So when people talk about we should have free healthcare, no, America don't believe in it.
We're
Never
ran by
have.
corporations at this point, so free ain't even
Yeah.
a concept.
Right. So like Canada, other countries in the world have it. And there were certain things like Manley was offering free education to university level, free healthcare. But after he went against Kissinger, he didn't have the money to afford those anymore. Now we only have free education to primary school level, and at high school level, it's highly subsidized. But from elementary school is free, but high school is subsidized because we couldn't afford it. Healthcare is still free at certain levels,
but
the
that
level of
argument,
care
He
wouldn't be what it is.
established all a minimum wage too, didn't he?
He established a minimum wage in 1972.
So I'm
Because
gonna
prior
chat
to that, it
GPT
was
this, right? I'm gonna chat GPT something for you, Stupies. Your argument would make
yeah.
sense. Now, I would agree at the end of the story, the United States, because I don't know the years specifically in Jamaica, but now I do because I just looked it up.
Yeah.
The end of your story bears huge fruit that is partly United States and Michael Manley.
Yeah.
But his socialism failed before the United States sanctions. So just follow this time. Yeah.
All right.
See,
Let's listen to the timeline. No. You make a statement.
Give me
Let's
1
listen to it.
second. No, I'm about to prove it
I'm
out.
listening.
Just give me 1 second. So I said, because I was thinking like, well, damn, did they fuck with him from the beginning to fuck him over? And I was like, no, I don't think that's the case, but I couldn't time it, so I chat GPT'd it. So I just simply asked, did Manley's socialism policies fail Jamaica before U.S. involvement? And it says the early socialist phase, 72 and 76, free education, housing programs, health expansion, land to the tiller. I know that makes sense to you. Or to other people, that's land reform, nationalization of the mining and banking, higher wages, stronger labor protections. He funded it though. He borrowed heavily abroad to pay for it all, assuming growth would follow. The results were early enthusiasm in 72 and 73. There was improved access to schools and clinics. But in 74, 75, and 76, the economy slowed, inflation got out of control, the deficits grew, the money wealthy Jamaicans and foreign investors that he borrowed from pulled out. In 76, Manley openly aligned with Cuba, defended Fidel Castro, and hosted him in Jamaica. While all this shit going on, the investors that he got, the wealthy Jamaicans left, he decided that the best plan of action was to host Cuba in Jamaica. And then what the United States did after he did this public show, they pulled all of their aid, all of their loans. After the United States, the only reason that people stayed in Jamaica when those wealthy Jamaicans left and private investors, they stayed, is because the U.S. was involved. Once the U.S. pulled their shit, even more private investment left. And then tourism suffered, remittances suffered, and then Manley versus Sega. So the U.S. did not create Jamaica's debt and inflation problems. It just made it worse after he hosted Castro. Now go ahead and tell me your shit about how the United States is the reason.
Let's break it up because I spoke earlier. 72, Michael Manley had 2 terms as prime minister in the 70s, from 72 to 1980. In 72, he started all of those social reforms, privatized the bauxite company, and he didn't fully privatize it. What he insisted on was profit sharing, that we should get more of the money from the bauxite because these companies were giving you pennies on the dollars. So when it's like it's an exaggeration. You might say, "Oh, you're just saying that," but people tend to forget, as I said earlier, what killed it and sent most of the world in recession, and even affected America, was that in 1973 there was an oil embargo, and oil went from like $3 a barrel to like $14 a barrel, or quite some dangerous numbers. Now, if you are carrying loans and you are faced with a recession, what is going to happen? What's basically saying that prior to 73, prior to the oil embargo, we were moving along. The growth rate was at like 2.5 to 5% a year. But as soon as that oil embargo came about, it crashed most of the world economy, especially those countries that in debt. Because it's like you're making $100 and you plan to pay $50 out of the debt. But oil ruled any production. Anybody who producing at that time was heavily reliant on oil. Now, when what you're reliant on went quadrupling costs, it's going to affect you. Right? It's going to affect you. Just about at that same time, the Americans and Cubans squabble was going on. It was a continuous squabble. It was being overlooked, that other countries were talking to Cuba. But at that time, the Americans decided that, listen, we want to isolate Cuba. We want to get Fidel out of Cuba. So they added to the distress that smaller countries were facing. Some countries were not willing to put up with the fight.
So whose fault was that?
Because, no.
He's the leader.
I wouldn't say it's anybody fault.
Wait, he's the leader of the country. I don't know. He's the leader of I can't blame the oil embargo on him, no. But he's the leader of the country. He knows that his fucking country is 100% dependent, because I don't think there's no oil in Jamaica, right? So there's all right. So it's all imported. So if all the oil is imported in Jamaica, He didn't establish any fucking reserves whatsoever. He still pushed the fucking socialism. And you know why he kept doing that shit? Wait, you know why he kept going full bore even during that what's
Why?
name? Because he was able to borrow money. And he was borrowing money from the wealthy Jamaicans, borrowing money from other
Yeah, but he
countries,
was
right? He
paying.
wasn't in
He
the
was
IMF
paying
yet.
by the. He
Hold on.
was paying the
No,
money.
but
Back, but he was
right,
paying.
the
But he was
socialism.
paying by the money before the oil market
No,
crashed.
and I get that. No, and I get that. But you know what else he didn't have a plan for? This is all. Listen, we having leadership conversation now. So now,
Right.
remember, there's another part when you didn't tell the whole story with Alcor, but I tell the whole story. Motherfuckers didn't need aluminum from y'all no more. That's another part. That shit dried up. So when you start this socialism, yeah, when you start these
No.
socialism,
All right.
people
But
listen.
no,
You can say
no. But you don't understand the full picture. Jamaican, the need for aluminium. They could get aluminium from other places. But if you go back, Jamaica aluminium is the easiest aluminium to mine because the surface level aluminium. So these countries were
bauxite.
Yeah, bauxite, surface level bauxite. They don't have. It's not deep level bauxite, so it is cheaper to mine. It was cheaper to mine. That aluminium is readily available.
Y'all wasn't the cheapest though in the 70s.
No, we weren't the cheapest anymore because we asked for our share. At that time, we asked for our share.
No,
Yes.
that's not why y'all. No, that's not why y'all weren't the cheapest. Y'all weren't the cheapest. The bauxite aluminum, yes, it was cheaper, but by the 70s, which that leader of yours, Michael Manley, by then there were other places that were cheaper. So people just went
No,
other
there weren't.
places. Yes, there was. Australia, New Guinea, Australia, Guinea, Brazil. I'm looking this up as we're talking, Stupies. I'm not just making this shit
The
up.
reason why Jamaica became more expensive is that the product, how to produce it was always cheaper than Australia. Australia aluminum is deep mine aluminum. Why was no longer preferential? Is that
The
because
oil crisis.
we asked for our share and the oil crisis is that when countries start to ask for their share.
More supply and a weaker demand.
No,
that's
it wasn't the demand, it was that the countries asked for their share. Once you start asking for your share. Yes, it was that.
Wrong. You're reading that wrong. I'm not saying what you're saying is, listen, I'm not saying what you're saying is 100% wrong. But listen, hold on. Me and you've been talking back and forth. I just want to ask Smalls a question and we'll go back to me and you talk. If there is an oil embargo, an Arab oil embargo at that, wouldn't there be less cars, less construction, less packaging? So wouldn't that mean that the supply? So wouldn't that mean that there would be more of an aluminum supply and a weaker demand for it?
Weaker demand, yeah.
Simply because of the oil crisis. So now everything Stu Pease is saying could be true, but if there were other places that not opened up, but other places during that time that were cheaper and had larger reserves than Jamaica.
I agree with your logic on that. That the oil embargo. But I talked about that earlier. The oil embargo affected everybody worldwide. Remember when the oil embargo exists in America? That is why America changed the policies on cars. That's why Detroit had to change the engine on the cars, and the cars had to be more reliable. Remember during that time, between 73 and 77, when the Arabs were fucking around with the oil, even in America, they had gas lines. Ask your parents if there weren't gas lines in America where people were lining up for hours.
I get that. I get that. Right? But the thing you talking about where they were supposed to make more money, that thing you were talking about when they're supposed to make more money, one of the issues that even happened with that is when you do that levy, it's Manley's bauxite levy in 1974. When you do that production levy so that y'all can make more money, y'all did make more money in the beginning, but here's once again where it's bad leadership. When you put a levy on your bauxite or bauxite aluminum, you can do that if nobody else has bauxite aluminum. But if you do that levy and you get millions of dollars to start at first, but then the second part is, what are other countries going to do? They're not going to pay you more for your shit if they can go somewhere else, especially if it's Guinea, Australia, Brazil. They'll just go somewhere else.
I'm glad that I'm happy. I agree with you completely. Because the same thing is happening now. And we're going to have this conversation a year time. Because I know that your memory long, like mine. Because the same moves that were being made by Manley, they might call them different moves, but it's similar moves being made by Trump. And we're going to have this conversation next year. Remember that. Put a stick in it. You and I will continue this conversation next year. That depend on leadership.
Yeah, we're going to be in a situation. Yes.
We're going to be in
that
the
situation.
same situation. Right? Because the approach to economic growth. Yeah. As I said, the approach to economic growth may vary by leadership. And sometimes when you have the best interest of your populace in mind, you have to make certain measures. Now, the biggest mistake he made is that he decided to be ride or die with Castro. Just like, Trump is now telling people that you cannot ride or die with China. With China, but other people, Canada is ignoring him, Mexico is ignoring him. No, if Manley was alive today and he didn't get to the fuckery in the 70s, he could have probably said, I can side with other people. I can side with the BRICS. But the BRICS didn't exist at that time. It didn't exist for Colombia, it didn't exist for Venezuela, it didn't exist for Nicaragua. It didn't exist for all of the banana republics, as we call them today. That was also undermined.
But I don't think
all of
the
those,
same thing will happen to us
it's the same
because once again, no, hold on. I don't think the same thing will happen to us because you also got to remember the conversation we were having is big bank take little bank.
Right.
We're still the big bank.
You're still the biggest bank, but the bank is not the same as it was in the 70s. Would you agree with me on that?
But would you agree the United States is nothing like Michael Manley in the 70s either?
I wouldn't say. I would say Trump is like him.
Is not like Jamaica in the 70s.
I would say Trump is like Manley in the sense that he's a populist.
Jamaica is an island that got less than 3 million people. We got the largest economy, the largest military, and we're still, no matter what anybody wants to paint us as, the most financially dominant country on the planet.
But Trump
so what
is
are we
still
talking
populist.
about? Like, you can't compare us to Jamaica.
Would you agree that Trump is a populist?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Right? And a populist can fuck things up, especially without
No. They can. No. They can. Long term, but short term, no. We couldn't be. We control global finance. We influence the IMF that y'all fucking had to get y'all had to go back.
Thank you. I agree with you that the IMF and the World Bank is highly influenced by the Americans.
I said that earlier.
Right.
Yeah, I said that earlier.
And sometimes they themselves determine, because most world leaders in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, most world leaders had to come to Washington, especially during the 80s, to kiss the ring of Ronald Reagan before they were favorably dealt with by the World Bank or the IMF. Would you agree with me or disagree with me on that?
No, I agree with you. I don't disagree with you right there. I don't disagree with you. That's the thing, Stupies. A lot of times in y'all conversations, people got to disagree with you to make the point, or they got to like be disagreeable to make a point. In our case, when we talking about politics, that's why I enjoy talking about politics more, is I don't have to fully disagree with what you're saying. I can fully, like, I can accept exactly what you're saying, but I just can't, I don't got to apply it to us in the United States. I'm not going to do that. Hey, but I got to dip though. I got to dip.
Yeah, but